Cici Abascal Zamora is a member of the opposition group Ladies in White. She was arrested back in the summer of 2021 when she joined thousands in street protests. Abascal said state security agents gave her a choice. We'll free you, they said, but you have to go into exile. Abascal accepted, and on Thursday she flew to Miami. In freedom, she held a press conference. My heart is in pieces, she said. It stayed with all my brothers who are still in prison, with those who the government has been unable to silence in their fight against totalitarianism. The U.S. has enacted a de facto oil blockade on Cuba and threatened military action if the government doesn't make fundamental reforms. Ada Peralta, NPR News, Mexico City.
This also comes as Cuban officials say they've run out of oil. Blackouts across the island are expected to persist. Ukraine's president and a top United Nations official say Russia deliberately targeted a UN vehicle in southern Ukraine with attack drones. NPR's Joanna Kakissis reports from Kyiv. The strike took place in a part of Ukraine where Russians hunt civilians with drones.
A vehicle carrying staff from the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs was hit twice by small first-person view drones. No one was injured. Tom Fletcher, the UN's emergency relief coordinator, told a briefing he was awoken in the middle of the night to news of the drone strike.
Where our people were very, very lucky to escape with their lives in what looks like a targeted attack. And we are furious about that, and we will demand accountability and full investigations.
The attack took place in Ukraine's southern Kherson region, where Russian troops used drones to hunt civilians on foot and in vehicles. Ukrainians call this practice the human safari. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
The U.S. Supreme Court has temporarily overruled a lower court order that blocked the abortion medication mifepristone from being sent through the mail anywhere in the country. NPR's Nina Totenberg has more.
The High Court reversed a decision by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which had blocked doctors from sending the pill to women who are seeking to end their pregnancies in the first trimester, even in states that have banned abortion. The FDA has since 2000 found the drug to be safe and effective. The Supreme Court's action blocking the lower court is only in place until the case is fully litigated in those courts and potentially the Supreme Court. But that is likely to take many months. Conservative Justices Thomas and Alito dissented. Nina Totenberg, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Some renters in Massachusetts have filed complaints with the Massachusetts Attorney General's office accusing landlords and real estate agents of breaking the state's new rules on brokers' fees. Our colleagues at WBUR report the law, which took effect last August, say the broker fee must be paid by the person who hires the broker, and in most cases, that is the landlord. But over a dozen complaints filed by people seeking apartments say some brokers told them that they'd have to pay the fee simply because they inquired about an online listing. The report says some people were told that if they refused to pay that broker's fee, the landlord would raise the rent to cover it, and in some cases, that rent would go up over $100 a month. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu will deliver the Class Day address to the 2026 graduating class of Harvard Law School. The Crimson reports the address will take place Wednesday, May 27th. Wu, who graduated from the law school in 2012, returns to campus less than a year after winning a second term as mayor. She ran unopposed in the November 2025 general election after Josh Kraft suspended his campaign 2 days after the city's preliminary election. Wu won that preliminary election with more than 71% of the vote. In sports, Red Sox in Atlanta for the weekend. First pitch tonight, 7:15. In the forecast, clouds in upper 50s today, partly cloudy mid-40s overnight, sunny mid-70s tomorrow, looking at mid-80s on Sunday. 57 right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Integrative Therapeutics, maker of Cortisol Manager, a formula created by Integrative Therapeutics with the goal of supporting the body's natural stress response. Available at Amazon.com. This is NPR.
Houston Browdy. I am Marjorie Eakin. You are listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Sincere apologies. We are not at the Boston Public Library today. I apologize especially to people who came down there, especially to see the show today. We had a technical problem. We are, however, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. The Mayor of Boston will be with us, we hope, at the Boston Public Library on May 27th.
And by the way, if the studio's not working when the mayor's with us, we'll just do it from some street corner. Look for us. By the way, I want to echo what Margie said. Our sincere apologies. We know a lot of people travel long distance, come to the show. I don't know what to say except we're sorry. So in any case, in the manosphere, being labeled a beta is an insult. But lucky for us all, we're removing the men from this conversation. Including Trump, by the way. We're not talking about Trump for at least 20 minutes. This morning, we're opening the lines to talk about a new phenomenon in parenting and motherhood, the rise of beta moms. This comes from a Wall Street Journal article. Let me read you the first paragraph of this beautifully written piece by Rachel Wolf. Some nights after Sophie Jaffe is already in bed, her phone will ping with a new video from her 13-year-old son that shows him doing a backflip off a concrete wall or standing on someone's shoulders. She usually won't know precisely where in L.A. he is, or for that matter, the whereabouts of his 15-year-old brother either. As long as they're home by curfew and have been well behaved that week, the teens are allowed to set their own schedules. So the lines are open this morning to talk about beta parenting, with the new generation of parents saying enough, with the overscheduling and the helicoptering, the monitoring, the activities. Are you one of them? Was it a choice or more of an act of survival in our endlessly busy world? How are you holding it together as a parent, as a kid in 2026? The number is 877-301-8970 to call or text. I have to say, whenever we've talked about helicopter parents in the past, Marjorie, on this show, I didn't know the term beta mom, but I have said forever, the crimping of, if that's the right verb, of the independence of a kid when you are hovering literally and figuratively over your child will be felt for decades. So I have to say, I big time welcome this whole trend that apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, is not just that Sophie Jaffe woman, but hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of young mothers in America.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this Wall Street Journal story, and the Wall Street Journal is so great all the time, is so good. It talks about how, for years, what you're supposed to be doing is fighting to get your toddler into the exclusive preschool, putting all those limits on screen time, no sugar, no preservatives, all that stuff, tracking apps on your teenager's phone. This woman talked about how she was a Girl Scout leader, so the kids could make sure her daughter could put this on her college application. The whole Tiger Mom thing. Did
you interview Tiger Mom years ago?
I thought
you did.
Yeah. Tiger Mom was an obsessively involved mother. She at one point was mad at her children, so you know what she did? She picked up their teddy bears and their stuffed animals, took them out and set them on fire in the garage. That's what she did.
And for younger listeners, she wrote a big-time book.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. But, I am so glad to hear this because I think there's so much, speaking for myself and my own daughter's got kids now, you feel so much guilt when you're working. So they talk about in these stories, back in the 50s, when mothers weren't working and they threw the kids out the door, parents spent less time caring for their children than they do now when both moms and dads are working. And dads are spending more time. People didn't used to go to every basketball game or baseball game. Now people go to the kids' practices of the basketball game and the baseball game. So there's this unbelievable expectation on parents. Everybody's exhausted. I think it's great that there's
for both the parent and the kid.
And the other thing is you realize that you're going to push your kid and push your kid and push your kid. Your kid is probably not going to get into Harvard. And even these days, getting into Harvard doesn't matter that much because you could be replaced by AI. You may as well go to trade school and learn how to be an electrician.
Our number is 877-301. What's the rest of that number? 8970. We're a little discombobulated this morning. The little discombobulated for calls or text about the advent, the era of the beta
Listen to this.
mom.
This is a type C mom. You know what she does? She says she's not even a beta mom. She just has all the kids. She's got 3 kids, like they're 4, 3, and 1. They all wear the same size diaper because she doesn't want to have to sort among the sizes. So the little kid is in this huge diaper. The big kid is in this little tiny diaper. She leaves all the shoes on the floor in the minivan so they don't have to search for shoes in the morning. And if they're fighting about clothes, you know what she does? They just go out without their clothes on, and they have to put the clothes on later on in the car.
You're coming at this. We're coming at it from two different places, but we end up in the same place.
Yep.
You're talking from the parent's perspective, I assume,
Yes.
because you are and were a mother.
Right.
Guilt
propelled.
For the kid, I don't know if I've ever told you, I'm an only child. Were you aware of that,
You
by the
told me
way?
that. Well, that answers, as our listeners know, a lot
every
of
question.
Yeah, it does. It answers a lot of questions.
Of a single mother, and she was rather. I mean, she had 3 jobs most of the time I was growing up, but despite having 3 jobs, she was a helicopter mom before there were helicopter moms, by the way.
Well, she was working.
And I have to say, it sort of
too.
stunted my growth, so to speak, and I feel it. And I am 100% convinced that the more parents are so hands-on that their kid can't breathe or move or make a decision or make a mistake, the kid gets scarred from this kind of thing. So this is exactly what should be happening.
Also, I also remember my own parents were having a lot more fun than I seem to have.
Weren't they both drinkers?
They were having cocktails
Cocktails
parties every
in the
other night.
afternoon.
They set up the Japanese lanterns. Everybody was dancing
really
around.
true?
It was in the summertime, not in the wintertime. They were all dancing around. We'd spy on them to see which horn dog father was trying to grab somebody else's mother that wasn't supposed to.
That was happening in your house?
Not at my house.
Where? Whose
Other
house?
people's houses. Of course, other people's houses. But listen to this. This woman talks about how she's adopted this style of parenting.
This is the Wall Street Journal still?
This is the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
She says she doesn't let the kids enroll in more than one extracurricular activity because she's not going to spend her whole life driving them all back and forth to all those activities. She does not care whether they eat vegetables anymore. And every morning she has a big, huge wicker basket full of unmatched socks. And she just tells, go over there, find 2. I don't care if they match, they don't match. Just put them on, shut up, and get in the car.
Well, I'm not going to name names so people can guess. We have a regular guest on the show who I have texted about something we're trying to work together on. The last 2 times I texted her, basketball game. Didn't matter. It didn't matter what time it was. And by the way, this person, I'm not going to say what she does for a living.
She is. She talks about it all the time.
Shirley Leung. And by the way, she's writing her damn column and the newsletter with John Chesto while she's at the game doing what she's doing.
She confessed that she hoped her kids lost.
She did say that on the
in the
air.
basket, so they wouldn't be in the
I know.
finals.
So she didn't
wouldn't
have to
drive
go
to Connecticut on a Wednesday night. AAU, that's another thing. Yeah. Your kid gets an AAU or driving all over the Eastern Seaboard to go to games for kids that are 8 years old.
Okay, let's say 88. Why am I losing? Oh, because I'm discombobulated because we got to move today. 877. You know what disappeared? The phone number used to be in the wall in here. 877
301
30. Oh, it's right there.
8970.
8970. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, what?
I'm just reading.
By the way, can I ask you something? Marjorie.
The texter says, Jim, don't blame your mother for your psychosis.
Thank you. But it's not a psychosis. It's not a psychosis.
It's not?
There are other things. Marjorie, you said at our staff meeting this morning, which is rather rushed because we were rushing back to Brighton, you said that another story about this being hot divorcee summer had some relationship. Apparently, that's the branding of this summer. What does hot divorcee summer have to do with beta moms?
I guess this mother has decided she's going to dress better. I didn't read this one because I was driving back
Let's
in the
take some
car
calls
and I
then.
missed
Fine.
it.
Victoria and Lynn, you were first on the Beta Mom Hour here on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Of course.
I would love to be super enthusiastic about this, except that I have a 15-year-old godson who is being radicalized online by the manosphere with all the red pill content, and that wasn't, you know what I mean, available in that previous generation where we were all running wild and free and didn't have helicopter parents. So that's the thing, is that the context of not paying attention and all of that, that's really changed. So that was immediate red flag for me when you introduced the show by talking about the woman with the 2 sons. Like, what are the sons doing? You know, what are they taking in that could be really destructive, these ideologies?
Well, they're outside. They're not online. They're not online. That was her point.
That you know of.
Right.
Yeah, that we know of.
Yeah, that you know of. I'm sure they're
But
all
if they have phones.
Yeah.
If they have phones, they're taking their phones out, they're comparing notes, they're accessing a lot of really explicit material. Sorry
but Victoria, what the hell? What kid is not able to, if they're viewing really explicit material? The best, most attentive parent what do they do? Do they monitor their kid 24 hours a day? You bring them up the best you can. And at some point, you have to trust that they're going to act responsibly, right? And if there's evidence that they're not, obviously you have to get involved. But isn't the notion is that if you raise them right, I don't mean to be, idealistic about this, more often than not, they're going to behave responsibly, no? Please say
I mean,
yes.
hopefully, we all would wish so,
Okay.
but you do have to keep in touch with them. You do have to
you do.
keep an eye in a way that I think is new generationally.
Okay,
That's what I'm
we got
saying,
it. Victoria, thanks for your call. We appreciate you starting us off.
I saw that documentary about the
Which one?
manosphere.
Oh, I know.
My God, what a bunch of pathetic. What's incredible though is that how these guys seem to have all these admirers. It's kind of like it's just sex and money. And sex and money and
Do you mean the violent ones, or you mean the average?
No, they're these influencers that sell this stuff that doesn't work, and they make thousands of maybe millions of dollars selling it, and they're all working out 9 hours a day, and they take videos of themselves working out, and they're surrounded by women in bikinis, and some of them are married, but they have other girlfriends, and their wife seems to know about
Kid
it.
Rock and Kennedy. I mean, that's who you're describing.
But it's sort of pathetic.
Yeah.
But apparently,
So when I
some
go
people fall
forest
for it.
bathing, you're not talking about that, are you? No, I just want to be clear. I do with men, but that's not the same sort of thing, right? Joe in a car, you're next on the Beta Mom Hour here thing. Hi.
Hi, thanks. Two great people, you and Marjorie.
Thanks.
So my point is, we don't have kids, my wife and I, but we have a lot of nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews. And the thing my wife has drilled into me, is that just show up, whether it's a swim meet, and we don't go to all of them, but you showed up and they know that you're there. And one of my nephews is a good basketball player in high school, and what he does, his first basket, he finds me and he points.
Oh, that's
He
great.
goes,
How great does that feel?
always great.
I love that.
You just showed up and they know you're there.
But, exactly. Knowing they're there and then being so there that they can't breathe, you agree, Joe, are two totally different phenomena, right?
Oh, well, we certainly know parents, friends that, they track their kids on the phone. They know where they are in college. It's like, come on, cut the strings.
Give them a little space. Joe, thanks so much for the call. Speaking of college, by the way, do you remember we did a story a few years ago when there were parents, and this was not that aberrational, who were calling professors in colleges to contest the grades that their children had gotten in their college classes? Do you remember that? I mean, how much does that stunt that
Or
kid?
calling up-
How humiliating is that?
Or calling up the boss after the job interview to ask them why the kid didn't get the job. Remember
Can you
that?
imagine?
Well, I think a lot of it, what the story is talking about is the sense that like I said, you have to get your kid into preschool A and grammar school B, and so that you track them all the way to get into a good college so they can earn a living. I mean, I think there's a lot of financial pressure that people feel to make sure their kids are going to be able to support themselves even now. So I think that's what some of this is about.
You're a little. By the way, you don't consider what I'm about to say an insult because you're a little absent-minded. Would you agree?
I would say, many's the time I showed up with my 6-year-old for a birthday party, and it was the wrong day.
Okay, that's.
I missed it. It was the day before.
Did you ever leave your kid in the cart at the grocery store or anything that kind of thing? Or
No,
you
no, they don't. You're not supposed to leave your kids in the car when you go into the gambling casino or anything, or leave them in the car at all. You're supposed to be, we do not want to be dangerous. But I think it's a lot of financial worry, and it's a lot of guilt that you feel as if you're not with your kid because you're working all day long, then you have to spend more
But
time.
the guy that just called, Joe, he said, just show up. The answer is show up when it really matters and then step back and give it some room. By the way, this relates to the topic about you not leaving your kid or whatever, the absent-mindedness. I have a distant relationship, without going into details, Marjorie knows this, with a guy who was very famous internationally. He's a wonderful guy, by the way, who left the baby seat on the roof of the car
that's right.
and drove down the highway with a kid on the roof. He's actually a wonderful guy. I know the kid is a grown-up now who is totally fine. Everything worked out well, but that's not the level of giving space that we are talking about. Nina in Cambridge, welcome to the show. Hi. Nina. Oh, another technical snafu. Okay, 877-301-8970.
Dan from Winchester says, I'm a piano teacher. I far too often see kids who are afraid to be creative and unable to fulfill their assignments or even learn basic skills. I suspect that some of this has to do with parents literally showing them every single note to play on the piano so they never have to learn how to do it for themselves. I have no idea why parents think this is going to help their kids in the long run. And then they talk about them being overscheduled as well.
So Jamie just wrote us a note to talk about the technical problems today. I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. We all did, Jamie. It's not just you. We all did. 877-301-8970. If you've tuned in and you think we're a little discombobulated, it's because we are. We didn't have a hell of a lot of prep time today. We had some tech issues that I'm sure are being remedied, but we had to drive quickly back, as did all of our guests. Our apologies to them, to Brighton, and we are apologizing to the people who showed up at the Newsfeed Cafe, because I hope you know by now we are not there.
So it's interesting how parenting goes through these phases. I think right now we're in the gentle parenting phase. That's when you're supposed to turn every toddler tantrum into an opportunity for a measured lesson in self-regulation. This is gentle parenting.
That's beautiful.
Not suddenly it wasn't enough to optimize a child's chance for success. Mothers had to follow a set of guidelines that requires superhuman patience too. So that's the gentle parenting.
I never met your mother, but the description you have of your mother, I'm assuming she was pretty close to beta before her time, right? I mean,
we were pretty beta.
You were baited. You and your sister sort of like go do your deal kind of thing?
Yeah. It was a long time ago, but I did a lot of things by myself that I wouldn't have let my own children. That's the other thing. You're afraid now if you do something, like let your kids walk to school by themselves, and something happens to your kids, you're going to be the worst mother ever born. You're going to be.
Well, I thought you were going to say that you were thinking about the worst things that you did that your mother didn't know about, and you didn't want your kid to do that thing on your watch. Is that?
Well,
I mean, you were a fairly wild woman as a kid. No, you weren't you?
Look who's
you don't like that.
I wasn't on the bottom of any 20-foot high coat
That
piles.
was Wheels. That was not me. That was
on.
Wheels in the fraternity.
Yeah, Jim says it was Wheels. We're
It was
suspicious.
Wheels.
Let's go to Fran in the car.
Hi, Fran. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys? I love your show.
You're very kind. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like you're looking at this in a little bit of like a 1972 live in the cul-de-sac kind of view.
Okay.
I really emphasize with that woman whose nephew is being radicalized by a group. The kids are reachable no matter where they are, and there's like peer pressure no matter where they are. If they're jumping off a bridge, they're filming it, they're posting it. There are online elements everywhere, and I don't think that can be discounted. I don't disagree that parents need to give their kids some space. I agree with you. There is a too close. There's some kind of crazy balance, but I don't know what it is, because I feel like the online component of parenting it's a whole other animal.
It is, but Fran, I'll say the same thing I said to you. And I've done shows and I've seen movies and read books about some of the horrors that have happened, including on places like Snapchat, where there's all that legislation that led to horrible outcomes. But the ability to monitor every minute of a kid on social media is just not there. And the issue is, can you raise them in a way that they act as responsibly as is reasonable under the circumstances? So I'm not disagreeing with you, but Fran, thank you very much for the call. You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. A couple of texts. Art from West Bridgewater. Male influencers selling things that don't work. Like when Jim was hawking virility pills. First of all, I did not. Marjorie says at the old station I was.
Yes, you did.
And this is a question actually from Marjorie, anonymous texter. How do I get a refund for my ticket to today's show? You text Marjorie after 1 o'clock. And your ticket will be refunded.
Okay, since I lost some reading time driving here from downtown Boston, a texter or someone has told me high divorcee is a high glamorous kind of thing. Wide brim hats, full length skirts. Divorcee is an energy. It's not a legal status. Supposedly, that's the that's the word on that. I mean, you got to figure out what to do about the online stuff.
You do what I said. I don't think that it shouldn't be even the debate. What are you going to monitor every time your kid
can't.
goes on social
You can't.
media?
But I guess, and I'm being judgmental. I'm being judgmental. But if you have a son that gets caught up in this manosphere stuff, I think there's something going on there more than the online stuff because it's so demented. I mean, but on the other hand, I shouldn't say that because half the country is obsessed with the manosphere tapes, like Joe Rogan. Although Joe Rogan's not an unreasonable guy when you actually listen to him.
By the way,
but he's got these huge muscles.
You have beautifully taken both sides of that issue within a 15-second time span. Let's go to Joan in Worcester. Hi, Joan. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, I think this is an interesting conversation because back in the 80s, and I'm old, I had 3 boys, and as you know, that's a little bit like herding cats.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I would yell out the back door, I would yell Fred and hope that the right one came because I could never remember whose name I was talking about.
I love that, Joan. Go ahead.
It worked. It
Great.
was fabulous. But the other thing is that we were free-range parents in a sort of responsible way. You couldn't let kids out until whenever, wherever. We were cognizant of that. But unlike my peers, I let my kids on the subway when they were 10, 11 years old. I had them have a T-pass. I wanted them to learn the routes. I wanted them to be able to find a public telephone. I wanted them to be able to do responsible things.
Joan, we're running out of time. How'd they turn out?
They turned out wonderfully.
Great.
And the village always told on them if they did something wrong.
Well, that's a huge part of that. We should have mentioned that earlier, the village component. Did the woman, you mentioned this on the other day, she mentioned letting her kids on the subway at 10. What happened in New York City?
There was a woman who did that. She let her
Was
kids.
she 8? He 8, the kid?
The kid was 10, and she got crucified for it.
Yeah.
People thought that was, how could you possibly do this? This was absolutely
Joan, you did the
terrible.
right thing.
Anyway, that was a good call, and I hope that the working mothers with little kids who are at the end of their ropes can relax a little bit. They don't have to clean up the house because they have little kids. Okay, coming up after this quick break, Boston Globe Love Letters columnist and podcaster Meredith Goldstein. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, listening to BPR and GBH, any PM, and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
The weekend is coming with stories.
I always knew that I had a voice that could make a difference.
Gardening.
Prune for health and appearance, not to try and control size.
And DIY delights.
There are these companies and they go viral because they'll spray something on the side of cedar and it just brightens it up and makes it look beautiful. But it doesn't actually add to the durability.
That's how we do weekends on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty believes progress happens when people feel secure and exists to help people embrace today and pursue tomorrow. Learn more at libertymutual.com. And the Boston Speaker Series announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings, including Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, historian Doris Kearns Goodwin, and former U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. BostonSpeakers.org.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy. We are not at the Boston Public Library. Some technical issues. Our sincere apologies to everybody who is there, was planning on going there, our guests, etc. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're joined now live on Zoom by phone booth expert Meredith Goldstein. She's the Boston Globe. She'll explain if you don't know. She's the Boston Globe Love Letters columnist and host of the Love Letters podcast. Hello there, Meredith.
Thank you for having me on this dreary day.
We're thrilled you're here.
I know, it is a dreary day. It's supposed to improve, though. It's supposed to be really nice the next few days,
good.
really hot.
Okay, fine.
So, you have gone national with the phone booth. Do tell. What happened?
Well, I think people are just catching wind that the coolest thing to do is go into an old school phone booth at the Boston Public Library. And I got a call that Scott Simon wanted to talk about it. So, we talked about it and Weekend Edition. And basically, more people are learning that in the library, we have a love letters advice column phone booth. And by the day, I'm getting more and more and more calls about so many people's problems. It's very exciting.
And I listened to that, and I've read virtually everything you've written about it, and there's the podcast deal. Haven't you said that there, obviously there's wide age variety in terms of people who use it. Young people don't even know what a phone booth is, right? Is that,
no,
or at least in
not
some
only am I learning that young people don't know what a phone booth is. I mean, they've heard of it. They can get it in context, but they've certainly never used one. Even people around my age in my late 40s have not really used one because what they're thinking of is a payphone.
Yeah.
They didn't close a door. What I'm also learning is that older people, I'm generalizing, are so used to doing talk to text that they don't remember how to leave a message. So one person left a message the other day and kept saying, period, comma. And then she realized she was giving the voice commands for texting. And she said, wow, I haven't really left a phone message in such a long time. So it's been interesting just beyond the problems and the range of problems, people's experience with technology.
Okay, so this was launched in February. If you've heard Meredith on a show in the last couple of months, we've talked about it. But for those who haven't, more than 1,000 calls have come in just the last few months. Here's just a small sampling of some of the messages. Here they are.
Where do I find good men in Boston? How can I become a better person for my girlfriend? How do I cope with the fact that I have to move back home? I was wondering if there's any Indian Christians that are single. When you've lost a pet that you love, knowing that there are more pets out there, how do you know when you're ready to move on?
So
I love it.
I mean, you've got, is that more than 1,000? Did I get the number right?
Yeah, it's now probably well over 1,000. I stopped counting, and some people are just calling and listening to what I have to say about advice columns and hanging up. Most people leave messages, and they range from these relationship questions you just heard. Sometimes I'm getting financial questions that I absolutely cannot help with. But most of the time, people just want to know how to deal with other humans in their lives.
Did I read also that I'm a little discombobulated today, even more than usual, that it's at least there for a few more months, and you're going to hold some sort of event at the end of June? What's going on?
On June 30th, and we're going to post this on the Boston Public Library website soon, we're going to have a conversation about what we've learned from this phone booth. So on June 30th, if you can set aside the afternoon, evening, come on in. We'll show you a video of how some people are using it, and we're going to be talking to some advice column experts beyond me, which we'll reveal when it goes up live. But yes, I really wanted to just gather people. The whole point of the phone booth was to gather people in person for an in-person experience. So we wanted to host an event.
So you wrote a fascinating column, or somebody wrote a fascinating letter, and you answered it about girl code. Tell us what this means and what the girl code protocol should be.
This was from the advice column. I received a letter from someone who wanted to know whether a friend of hers dating her own ex breaks girl code, which is an interesting theory. Like, we don't want to date each other's friends' exes. We don't want to alienate our friends, but also how many friends do we have, and how close are we to our friends? But we really got into what is girl code? And this was someone who has been in a sorority. This was a sorority sister. And I thought, well, you can't ban an entire sorority from dating your ex. How big is your sorority? How close are you with these people? So my thing is, girl code is reserved for human code. Friendship code, I'm going to say, is reserved for those close to us. Because sometimes you like somebody and they happen to have dated somebody you know, especially in college or in a place where there's a community that's going to keep, finding each other.
By the way, there was one of the readers' comments, which are great on your comments. One of them drafted a mock statute, right? A girl code kind of thing, which was pretty funny.
We have a lawyer who comments every day. I don't know who they are in the real world, but I thought originally it was going to come from that person, but this was someone else. But yes, they came up with their own legalese for girl code, and I appreciated that.
Doesn't this happen a lot?
Which?
Where a lot of kids date in groups, especially in high school and college, and it ends up they're all going out together, and somebody falls.
Excuse me.
What?
One of my girlfriends, when I was in a fraternity at Penn, ended up dating one of my fraternity brothers. I was only in fraternity a year. And actually, I hadn't seen her in 30 years, and I ended up seeing her. She lives in town just to say hi 30 years later. So I lived boy code.
Okay.
You lived boy code.
Boy code, I did.
Were you traumatized by that?
Somewhat. Yes, I actually was.
Really?
I think it all depends on the breakup, too, because we had a whole podcast episode years ago about someone who sets their own ex up with someone else because they liked the guy. They just didn't. They were like there for somebody else. So I think if you're heartbroken, it's one thing. But I know a lot of people who say, wow, like my ex is now dating my best friend and good for them. I'm going to have dinner with them on Sunday. So I think all of this is very nuanced depending on the situation.
Do you mind if I update Marjorie on something else,
Yes.
This
just
is
for
more
one
about
second?
your girlfriend from the sorority?
This is a different one. You know of this one. Do you know how? Oh, no, actually, I can't tell this on the air. Sorry. Okay, let's move on. So,
I hate when he does
I'm
that.
sorry.
He does it all the time.
No, it's worse for the
I'm
listeners.
going to make them tell me. I'm going to make them tell me
He tries
later.
to tell me a story, then he says,
Sorry,
I can't tell you.
I didn't realize it would implicate somebody I can't implicate. In any case,
okay.
I often ask you, even if you haven't written about
Must be
it.
someone from the Globe? Is someone from the Globe?
About the
Meredith
world.
knows them?
About dating in the world. We're at war. You probably are aware of that, even though allegedly we've won everything and that sort of thing. What's that song?
course.
If the world was over, or world was over, would you come over, right? Or whatever, that cute little ditty between that man and that woman. I can't think of their names. Is dating different in a time of war and the fallout from it, like the great economic stress,
Well, the economic stress for sure. I just think, and we've been in this situation so acutely for so long, people's politics and how they feel about the world and their ability to show empathy is going to be really key when you meet someone. So if someone isn't on the same page as you are about how you show empathy and how you think about the world, it's harder. You want to know, many people say, I want to know that somebody cares about what's going on. Or on the other side of it, somebody might say, I don't want to talk about this all the time. And that's okay too. I don't want to live in this difficult conversation all the time. I don't want to be with somebody who's reading the news all day. That's another kind of person. And there's no wrong answer to this. It just means that we're learning about each other and how we react to this kind of world.
Okay, speaking of this kind of world, my kind of world.
Are you going to do the thing about the woman that complains about dinner?
My kind of
I
world
can't believe this one.
includes
I can't believe
dinner.
It.
And by the way, I'm so glad. And the reason I tried it, when I read your column, you are so kind.
You are so kind.
You're strong but kind.
Empathetic.
Or kind but strong. However, I think I had the same. I didn't even know you had that kind of reaction. Explain what the woman said, including being bullied
into
by
having
her dates.
to get.
Explain this. Go ahead.
So this is my favorite letter in a while.
Great, good.
Really, a woman writes in. She's, I believe, in her 70s. She's on a fixed income. And she's dating. And she fully understands that in modern dating, people are going to split the check. It's not necessarily in a straight relationship. Men are paying for everything. With that in mind, she doesn't want dinner to have to be included in the date because it's not a priority for her, dinner. And she doesn't want to pay half of a bill of some expensive dinner. She'd rather do an activity. So she's trying to find a way to get around having to eat on these dates. And this was really a divide with people because to me, eating is bonding. So it's complicated. Like, I understand why these people are saying, oh, at the last minute, no, but we should have dinner. So Jim, I think you're going to say you love food and I love food, but it made me think about, well, how much is food and dining an essential part of dates in general?
Totally is the answer. I mean, it's a time. I mean, she's talking about she just wants to go to the movie. How are you going to talk in the movie? How are you going to get to know the other person?
First of all, why would you want to go out on a date with someone you never met if you met him off one of these dating sites and spend any more than 15 minutes having a coffee to see if you wanted to spend a half an hour?
Coffee's a great way to start, but I think she's more talking about even date 2 and 3. Can we just go bowling and skip the other part? And I think there are ways to have a cheap dinner and to incorporate an inexpensive meal. What this made me think about, which is not quite on topic is about the culture of eating changing with so many people being on GLP-1s, and how I've even had friends say to me that the pleasure and joy they take in a bonding ritual that used to mean everything to them is not the same.
That's horrible.
Because of those drugs?
But it's not necessarily a bad thing for them. It's just different. And I say this as a person who wants to do everything with a snack next to me, that it's not that they can't enjoy it or don't want to. It just doesn't have the same, for some, in some good ways, it doesn't have the same quality to it. And so this isn't a blanket statement about how everybody experiences that, but I have thought, oh, well, there are other things we can do, or this is just a part of the journey now. And but I had empathy for this woman because, you don't want to get somewhere where you think you're going to spend $10 and you're spending $50. But also I can understand why food and sitting across from someone seems essential.
Well, also,
I
you
thought
didn't
this
touch on
woman
the
was getting bullied.
That's the word she used.
She said she's getting bullied. I felt like she was getting. This poor woman is already getting shoved around with these guys she hardly knows.
She's
who
trying to
insist
say
on having dinner when she doesn't want to have dinner.
Meredith wants to be as nice as she always is. Let her be nice.
No, I mean she's. I see that, but she's also not being really clear. I think where she can say, I'm trying to watch my money right now. I would love to get some pizza while we bowl, or go, have some popcorn in a movie. It sounds like some of these men are saying at the last minute, oh, let's actually stop by, I don't know, some fancy restaurant along the way. And she doesn't like the surprise. And I think that's fair to say. I want to know what we're doing. I want to set a plan that we stick to.
I think she should just pack a lunch. That's what she should do. They go out to a nice restaurant.
She takes a little
breaks
sandwich.
out the little bag.
She says
turkey
they get
and Swiss.
mad at her when she won't eat at the restaurant. I felt so bad for this woman.
One thing I want to say, and I know I'm very yay library because I have a phone booth in there, and we're not at the library today, obviously.
I know.
But one date that I think I really wanted to suggest to her is, you guys record next to a cafe that is
idea.
Pretty reasonably priced. In my opinion, has the best Caesar wrap in the city, and you're in the library and it's free. So you can walk around and do that. So I just think there are ways to have an inexpensive date in this city and really get to know someone that are, middle of the road like that.
Can I ask you, as an advice columnist, this is not a dating thing as such.
Yes, the library's very romantic.
Let me do a hypothetical. Let's assume you work with somebody, and at a particular location, there's sandwiches named after both of you. This is a hypothetical.
Oh, this is big in my home, by the way.
The
this is big in my home.
Of one of our, not us, excuse me. The sandwich of one of us sells many more than the sandwich of the other person.
Well, I would like to know which one sells more, because recently I brought home a Jim to my own household, and the person in my household said, I wanted a Marjorie.
There you go.
Unfortunately.
And I thought, what an indictment of Jim.
Oh, thank you. By the way, you're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. By the way, let me be honest, and it's painful.
Taste, I would say.
They sell many more Marjories than Jims, and I want to make it even worse. I buy more Marjories than I buy Jims. So how do you deal with that? I take it as a personal affront.
I'm going to be kind and say the Jim is so wonderful, but small doses, right? Such an overwhelming experience that small doses.
Okay, we only have 2 minutes left, but I love this thing you wrote about Isabel Calder.
Yes.
And explain who she is. And you have 2 minutes and what she did and the advice. It's great.
This is a woman in the city who was fed up with dating. So she said, I'm going to throw my own party, a singles party in Somerville. And she basically did it all herself. And I'm noticing this happening all over the city. People are saying, I don't like apps. I don't want to have to, count on some corporation to do this for me. I'm just going to put up a flyer and say, let's all meet in a park. She got a permit. More than 500 people came.
500?
More than 500 people. Oh. And she gives a guide to just doing this yourself. And sometimes we just have to take it into our own hands and say, I'm just going to put up a flyer and say, meet me here and there, and maybe, get some friends to help you for safety and the burden of work, and just do it.
By the way, while you did give some tips, and you can give a few, we have enough time for that. People have to read for the rest. You never said she did it also for herself.
She did.
So did she find anybody or no?
I need to check in with her. She did make some matches, but she went to her own event wearing a hat that said, I'm single.
That's great. And give a couple of your tips.
Market basket meet cute thing. that
yes, she had gone to that. It was an inspiration, but that was a similar event that she got inspiration from. But her big tips were, if you know a lot of people are coming, get a permit, ask your friends for help, and go old school, do flyers. Meet people where they are.
Does the market basket thing mean you would hang around the frozen food aisle? Or
You do.
I think
Either
you just show
frozen food
up.
or produce. That's where you have the most incredibly
What's wrong with
intimate
the
experiences.
frozen dairy aisle?
Yeah. Lean up against the limes. That's what I've always found to be a very
You know
appealing.
what Jim does in supermarkets?
Don't.
He puts his finger
No,
through
I do
the
not. I do
saran
not.
wrap in the ground beef. What do you think about that?
I do
Meredith?
not put it through. When I was younger, I would occasionally press the ground beef,
Into
not through the wrapping.
I think we've all done that once.
Thank
or maybe
you.
I'm just
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be nice. I don't know. I don't really know, but yeah.
Meredith, it's great to see you. Sorry we didn't get to see you in person at the library.
The ground
We'll see you
beef
soon.
filed charges.
Go check
is
out the
what
phone booth. It's fabulous.
Okay.
Main entrance to the main branch in Copley. It's great. See ya.
Meredith Goldstein, thank you very much. We've been speaking with Boston Globe Love Letters columnist Meredith Goldstein, and the phone booth in the library is
great.
It is really
Brilliant
really neat.
idea.
If we were there today, we could segue over there, but we're not. Coming up after this quick break, live music with local artist TEATEA. Where do you hear this music? It is fantastic. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Tune into The Culture Show for daily discourse on the arts and culture scene, and join us for what is a continuous conversation about the state of the arts with the most interesting thinkers, innovators, and creators in the region and beyond. From the poets to the painters to the power brokers who hold the purse strings. It's all here on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you. And M&M Skylights, installing and servicing the full range of commercial and residential Velux skylight products. More information about their installation process and consultations can be scheduled at mmskylights.com.
And White Flower Farm, offering home gardeners a wide selection of plants, tools, and supplies for the growing season ahead. More at whiteflowerfarm.com.
We're back. Okay, welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie and Jim Browdy. Again, we're not live at the library. Our apologies, really our apologies, but we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. It's time for another edition of Live Music Friday. This time, as I said, from our Brighton studio. Joining us this week is North Shore artist and producer who just released her new album, Herbal Tea, blending experimental jazz and hip-hop into a deeply personal project. From performing all over the state to becoming a staple in Boston's collaborative art scene, TEATEA, shaped by her Haitian and Congolese roots, joins us ahead of her album release party at Beantown Flair. That's on the 16th. Is today the 15th?
Correct.
That's tomorrow, okay. And her upcoming Pride kickoff show, that's on June 6th at the Crystal Ballroom, which I went to the first time a few months ago. It's a great venue. You can find out more on Instagram at TT, right? Or is it TT?
Double TEATEAA.
Okay, we'll do, double TTTEAA. Is that correct? We got it. We'll do that again in a couple of minutes. TT, welcome. What are you performing?
I'm performing 2 songs, one off of the project that I just dropped, Herbal Tea, and then one off of my last album, Motherboard.
Great. We're thrilled to have you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Hit it. As the sun, it starts to fade, I try to keep my faith. Your scent is fresh to my dismay. I cannot stay away. Share a mirror with cloudy skies. Lo absorti don't j'aime cognac. All I know is what is inside. Love will be my guide. Don't be, I tremble. Too sentimental, and I wonder when rain starts to fall. Are you ready to risk it all? Don't be, I tremble. Too too sentimental, and I wonder when rain starts to fall. Are you ready to risk it all? In the midst of it, I guess I will just have to admit I've made a few mistakes, but this is something I won't say is fake. I can't lie, I can't try to disguise. I'm showing you all the clear signs. Fear it breaks the deepest of ties. Yeah, I tremble when it starts to fall. I tremble, tremble, tremble. Rain, it starts to fall. Starts to fall.
Oh, that was fantastic. That was the voice of TT, and you can find out everything about her at TT. I'm going to spell it TTEA. TEAA.
Correct.
Very good. Okay.
Who's this guy over here?
This is Gibson Alcott.
Hello, Gibson Alcott. That was great.
Yeah. That was.
By the way, I should say, Marjorie and I are totally frantic after we have to leave the library.
Yeah.
And the two of them who have to perform are totally relaxed, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
You helped calm us down, both of you guys. Thank you.
So tell us, your new album just came out.
It just came out. Yeah, I honestly just dropped it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I've only put it on Bandcamp, so I'm trying to honestly like call for people to actually pay for music again and like appreciate it that way. But Bandcamp gives you like 3 listens of each song before they tell you, pay up.
Okay, spell that for us too.
Bandcamp?
Yes, so people
it's
know.
BANDCAMP.
Okay. Sort of like band camp. Oy,
just want
Marjorie.
to make sure.
Okay.
I couldn't hear it that well.
Oh, no,
Maybe
okay,
everybody
fine.
else couldn't hear it that
Okay.
well. Want to make sure.
What's
Band
with the
camp.
name? Where'd the name come from?
Herbal Tea?
No, you.
Oh, my name.
Yes,
okay.
you.
So my first and middle initials start with a T. So I've always been called TT since I was really young, but I actually have like a major connection and affinity to tea. Like I'm Haitian and Congolese. We drink a lot of tea. It's medicinal, but also like it can be made in different forms. So I resonate with it. It's like metaphoric in a way,
What do you like?
Honestly, I feel like I really love herbal teas. Like, it's not even to be ironic.
I'm into them.
I love things that, like, they're going to help with something. Like, if I'm having a breathing problem, let me drink this tea. If I am having stomach issues, let me drink this tea. Like, I feel like there's always a tea for something.
Right. And the album is not named Lipton's. Let's be very clear.
Yeah.
So, TT,
you don't want to have too much turmeric, though, because there was
Why?
Because that TV show.
Bad for you?
Yeah, the TV show about the emergency room. Some woman came in there. She was like over turmeric, and
What,
she
the
was
pit
she
you're
was very
talking
sick on the pit. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I've never heard that before. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Drink as much as you want.
Yeah,
It's
be
fine.
careful with the turmeric.
So, TT, when one of our producers, I assume Nicole, talked to you, you spoke sort of glowingly about the Boston music scene. And I have to say, we've had been lucky enough to have a lot of wonderful performers on the show. And I have to say, the perspective is mixed about how welcoming this community is. Why are you as positive as you appear to be about it? Is that real, or you think it's?
I think it's a mix. I think naturally I'm a sociable person. I'm on the street, I will talk to a stranger. I feel like one of the most beautiful things that I've experienced as someone from the North Shore is like being able to be welcomed in every place I've gone to in Massachusetts. And having somebody be open. You know, maybe the crowd's not always the best and the audience isn't always like as welcoming, but every other artist I've met, whether it's producers, singers, rappers, I feel like they're really open to like at least knowing who you are and hearing you out. Even if they don't love the music at the end of the day, they'll actually give you a chance to like, you know, share about yourself and collaborate for the most part. Like all of my connections that I've made, including Gibson, have been just so open. I've known Gibson for like 5 years now, and we met just like so openly and started collaborating.
You're Grammy nominated? You don't have a mic in front of you, but you're Grammy nominated? We just learned from our colleagues, Gibson is Grammy nominated for his work on the best rap album.
Congratulations.
That's fabulous.
That's great.
Can you beat us this time?
Okay.
We're nominated for nothing.
Yeah,
Marty and I should say. Can I wait? Since I blew it, I want to give the Instagram handle again. 2 T's at the beginning. TTEA, TEA, and a second A at the end.
It's kind of cute. There's two extra T at the beginning and extra A at the end.
Correct.
Otherwise, it's TT. Yeah, in the middle. So where'd you get that voice? I mean, were you like 6 years old and you realized you could sing, or did you take
It was
lessons?
development. It was development. I feel like my voice was not the best when I was younger. I did a lot of like choir, chorus. I did like chorale in middle school, musical theater, just theater in general.
Yeah.
I am a big drama geek. So it allowed me to like develop my sound. And I think in one sense, it developed my skills, but also like it made me learn how to be in like an ensemble and a bigger group. But I also like developed solo wise with a lot of like influence. My parents had me listening to pretty much any genre growing up.
But you're a big Nina Simone person,
I am
right?
a big.
Oh my God.
That's what inspired my album, like her reflection and saying you need to reflect the times and making sure you're as honest as possible, even if it is very sad and gloomy.
And you do graphic art as well?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I do a lot of digital art, but I love to paint. I feel like the positive in digital art is like you kind of have every color at your fingertips, but then also like you lose the real grit of like pen and paper or like the canvas and paint. So I really do like a little bit of everything, a lot of like scanning real art into digital too and editing. So I mix a little bit of everything.
You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Speaking of losing real grit, a couple of weeks ago when I read that on, I can't remember what chart, maybe it was the Apple chart, I don't know what it was, maybe Spotify, whatever it is, a majority of the top 10 songs were not made by human beings.
Oh, wow.
I mean, AI songs were doing incredibly, does that not put you totally over the edge?
It's such an interesting like topic actually, because I feel like music makes me feel more human. And I feel like when we make AI art, you know, whether it's like accessibility or not, it takes away that human feeling, that human reflection. And I don't know, I have to say I'm not for AI music. Like, it doesn't resonate with me the most. I feel like, why not get behind the mic? Even if you're not the best singer, you develop in singing talent, you develop in production talent. And I don't know, it takes away so much of the experience.
Is your attitude this positive in life? I mean, you seem to be a really positive.
I think so.
Gibson said yes, you are? Okay, go ahead. I love that.
But it also takes away I think the audience fixation with the performers. I mean, you fantasize about the performers. You think about them
in a healthy way. You fantasize about them.
Oh, in a healthy way. You know, I mean, the cliched example is Taylor Swift and all her breakups. But you think about the songs she writes in her life. You're not going to feel, I don't think, the same way about somebody doing a breakup song. When they're AI, it's like, who cares, you know?
It takes away from the actual, like, performance experience, too, because I'm a major, like, performer. Like, I love live performances. I love, like, seeing people, whether it be the first time or whether they're, like, a vet in performing. I love that experience. I love going to a concert, and that's some of the stuff that makes you human, you know?
Isn't it uplifting to perform in front of absolutely nobody in our little studio in Brighton rather than a full house at the Newsfeed Cafe?
Tell us about your party, your release party.
So it's at Beantown Flair. It's a newer spot. I believe they opened last September. And I was put onto the spot by another artist, Janaya, from my city, Lynn. And basically she, you know, connected me with the people over there. And I was like, wait, we could use this space for something really cool. and Tanya out at Beantown Flair. She basically was like, you know what, we're all on board to do this.
And that's tomorrow.
That is tomorrow. And I have wonderful vendors, wonderful opening performers. I'm really excited. Like, I'm so excited for it. Like, I feel like I'm going to just be witnessing it all myself.
That's great. So what are you performing this round?
So I am, sharing my new project, Herbal Tea, for the first time. I'm not performing every song on it, but I am, like, sharing the project since it just came out on Wednesday with people.
What are you going to do right now?
Right now, I'm going to perform another song.
Okay, what is it?
It's called Je vais te chercher.
Which means?
Which means I'm going to find you, in lack of better words.
I like that.
Great.
Okay.
TT and Gibson by her side.
Est-ce que tu reviens un jour? Tell me why you left so soon. C'est un motif déjà vu. It's a cycle for me too. Play it on rewind. To my mind, it's so unkind. True disambitions are so hard to find. With you, I would really try, but you left with no goodbye, and memories all would flood my mind. Every mission, I see you missing. Question my vision, stuck with your reflection. Every pathway, I feel your presence, and I promise je vais te chercher. 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 Bring you up from the underworld, you'll be my Eurydice. Promise I won't risk it, never take this chance for granted. Just to see you one more time, I'll have my heart transplanted. Ooh. Bring you up from the underworld, you'll be my Eurydice. Promise I won't risk it, never take this chance for granted. Just to see you one more time, I'll have my heart transplanted. Oh, 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 yeah. Every mission, I see you missing. Question my vision, stuck with your reflection. Every pathway, I feel your presence, and I promise je vais te chercher. Every mission, I see you missing. I question. Every pathway, I promise je vais te chercher. Oh yeah, je vais te chercher. Ouh, je vais te chercher. Je vais te chercher.
Whoa, we have been speaking with artist and producer TEATEA ahead of her album release party tomorrow at Beantown Flair at Faneuil Hall. She was joined by her Grammy-nominated guitarist DJ Gibson, who got nominated for his work on Best Rap Album. To find out more about these two, go to Instagram at TT. I'm going to spell it again for you. Instagram at 2T's EA. Then I'll just spell the whole thing. TTEA TEAA.
Exactly.
2 T's at the beginning, 2 A's at the end.
Good
that
luck.
was fantastic.
Come back and see us again. You guys are great. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Say goodbye to those listening on NEPM. We're going to be right back. This is Jim, Brad, and Marjorie and BPR and GBH and NEPM.
Trusted reporting is here for you every day on GBH Radio, and the best way to support it is by becoming a GBH sustainer. Sustainers make small monthly contributions that make a big difference. Learn more at gbh.org/sustainer.
Funding for our programs comes from you. And Biogen. For nearly 50 years, Biogen has been committed to advancing biotechnology innovations to develop new medicines for people with hard-to-treat diseases. Biogen, making breakthroughs happen. Biogen.com. And Cambridge Trust, a division of Eastern Bank, offering business and personal wealth management and private banking services, investing more than $240 million in local communities since 1994. More at cambridgetrust.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We apologize again for not being at the Boston Public Library. We had a technical difficulty. We're especially sorry for people who came all the way down there to see us. But we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Hello again, Jim.
I just had an idea during the break. Instead of calling this Boston Public Radio, what if we change the name to Chaos is Us? What do you think? I think it sort of fits.
With a K.
What do you
Chaos.
think? Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Sue.
There you
Brilliant.
go. You're welcome.
It's time for our media analysis segment, Press Play, and chances are the reputations of our two next guests precede them. There's, of course, media maven Sue O'Connell. We know about her being truck extraordinaire, now weather guru for NBC 10, and she sent me a text saying, "Eat your heart out,"
Yes, Jim.
which I did. And then there's Emily Sweeney, Boston Globe reporter. You've probably heard her fine work on Boston Globe's social media accounts.
There was a crazy home invasion in Beverly over the weekend. A masked intruder broke into an $18 million waterfront mansion in Pride's Crossing, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods on the North Shore. Several valuables were stolen, including a Porsche that was used to escape from the property. The car has since been recovered, but the suspect remains at large.
By the way, a mere 3 billion people have seen that, by the way, give or take a few. That led, of course, we'll talk about that, to a little thing in the New York Times. Sue O'Connell is political commentator with NBC 10 Boston, co-host of At Issue, the 2026 midterm elections, available every Monday. Emily Sweeney's Boston Globe reporter, does a bunch of stuff, also author of Dropkick Murphy, singular, a legendary life. Emily, great to see you again. Sue, great to have you as always.
Good, I can't tell you how upset I am that I spent all this money at Emerson to get rid of my Revere accent.
Yes.
And now suddenly Emily Sweeney's out there, making a finna for two, picking up some money. I mean, I had no idea I could just talk like this and I would be fine. But what the heck?
Listen, my mother drummed it out of me. The fall river. These girls going to go to the corner and get some get some sodas.
Yeah.
You know, that
Some
Are you
tonic.
sick of this already, by the way? Be honest.
You know, I don't even hear the, like, when I, like, heard my voice, like, telling the story, I'm like, it sounds totally normal to me. I don't even know. Like,
I'm with you. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So you got the Rath, Dorchester Rath thing going there. Explain
Yeah.
to people what that is.
Absolutely.
And how Dorchester,
Yeah.
what it meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Fields Corner. That's like St. Ambrose Parish in Dorchester, and I have, Dot Rat is a slang term from, somebody from Dot, and I have that tattooed across my back actually in large letters. And I'm very proud to be, originally from Dot.
Yeah, well, you should be doing a podcast every single day. That's what I think.
Oh, I'd be more than happy to. I'm
Call
ready.
Brian McGrory, Marjorie, as soon as the show's
You should
over.
take advantage
Brian, are you
of this
listening?
opportunity.
Now, as impressive as that was, I have to say, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it broke my heart, even though I'm fairly fond of you.
Yes.
How'd you end up doing the damn traffic?
So on the day that the terrible shooting was happening on Memorial Drive, where the shooter was, they had captured him, but it shut off all of the traffic. Obviously, they shut down Memorial Drive. And I'm a team player, Jim, and what happens in the newsroom for me is we're doing our live coverage. And while they're getting people in the spot, the news director looks around and says, Sue, what can you do? And so I first get up and I talk about, the neighborhood. And then suddenly someone has a brainstorm and says, put Sue up in front of a traffic map and she can break in and do traffic as this is happening. So I was the traffic reporter during the shooting. I mean, every single time we go live, if I'm in the newsroom, they go, what can you do? And I say,
it's
anything.
on our YouTube.
There I am, yes. Look
Okay,
at that.
there she is.
Look at you.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yep. And I had to use that live board for the first time, which was kind of funny because you know how technical stuff is really a challenge.
pretty
So
good
I'm
with
like,
that
but I
here.
did pretty good.
Very
so.
proud of you
Thank
there.
Thank
with,
you.
Pretty
you look like
impressive.
John King with a magic wall or something like that.
Like a natural.
Can we get to, by the way, the one time I sort of did weather with Matt Noyes about 20 years ago was one of the thrills of my life.
Yes,
I mean,
we
it really
know.
is
Every
unbelievable.
time I get to
Okay,
do
yes,
something
we
new, I know
fine.
you're mad. So
Okay, fine. I'm a little
makes me
bad.
happy.
So can we talk about one of my many, many obsessions that I will not get over? Here are 3 recent interactions between a guy who has been found liable by a jury for sexual abuse and his interaction with women reporters. First, you'll hear him with someone from MS Now, then in response to Nora O'Donnell in 60 Minutes, and finally, an exchange with Caitlin Collins at CNN. Here's Trump and those reporters.
And we're right now on budget, under budget, and ahead of schedule. I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. It's double the size. You are not a smart person. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace.
What would you say to the survivors who feel safe?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile.
Emily, regular listeners know I'm a broken record.
He is a
The
broken
thing that
record.
upsets me, I would say more than Trump's abominable, disgraceful behavior, is the fact that fellow reporters don't rally around these reporters when they're attacked by the President of the United States. What do you think a reporter in a scrum should do when he calls someone, another one, you're ugly inside and out, you're stupid, you're dumb? What should happen?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very tempting to not shoot back something quickly, but that would be unprofessional. I'd also be interested in seeing the breakdown of his. He's attacked male reporters too.
Mostly women of color, by the way, I should say.
Yeah, I haven't seen a total breakdown of but I mean, Trump's relationship with the press. Whatever you think about him, the man's kind of a marketing genius. I mean, he presses people's buttons, and look, we're talking about him right now because.
Wait a second. Wait. I'm not going to let you get away with this. If you're standing next to somebody when he does any of these 3 things, at minimum, are you not at least going to repeat her question? And then the next person repeat the question, or maybe not stay in the room when somebody's treated like that. I mean, what do you do? Is business as usual?
I think repeating the question, that's the way to go. I mean, of course, I'd be interested to see. What was the next question? What happened?
Well, generally, when you listen, my experience has been they just move on to the next damn question like nothing happened.
Yeah, I also think there's the feeling of that he's going to keep going further and further. and they're waiting for him to say something that is so beyond the pale. I mean, you can almost hear every time he does that. I'm like, what is he going to call her? Right.
Well, he did get Miss Piggy got him in
No,
trouble.
it's bad, and but it's going to get worse because I honestly think there's something wrong with him, and we all know when we have people in our lives who are suffering from cognitive diminishment, which I think is absolutely happening here. At some point, they say something at Thanksgiving dinner, and it's horrific, and I think there's a bit of the press waiting for him to say that.
Okay, I'll say one last thing because Marty's going to get angry at me for obsessing, and then I promise I'll move on.
And call him a stupid. What are you going to call him?
And at the Pentagon, when they changed the rules and made them unconscionable, every outlet except like Mr. Pillow or whatever the hell it was, including Fox News, said we're not going to do this, so they leave the premises. That is serious enough to change your behavior and to walk out. But regular verbal abuse of your colleague, most of whom are women, is apparently not enough for anybody to do anything. Am I barking up the wrong tree here?
No, but at the same time, if you were a murderer and Emily were covering him, in a court case, and he started yelling at Emily from the courthouse, she would stay and cover him, right? I mean, we deal with people who are sometimes convicted of sexual abuse in a civil court. And that's how they act. And the job is to take the information and share it. And his disrespect is just growing. And if we don't cover him, what happens? I mean, I think repeating the question and calling it out is the best way to do it.
By the way, I'll end it. I'm not talking about walking out forever. I'm just saying there's got to be some show of solidarity for people who are treated like crap by the most powerful person in the world. We're talking to, well, you know who we're talking to. We're talking to Emily Sweeney and Sue O'Connell.
So let's move on to CBS News. Stephen Colbert is going to be done May 21st, the next day under Barry Weiss, who I think has some judgment issues. She runs CBS News now. They're going to ditch the 100 years of CBS radio. In that context, I couldn't have been happier that the CBS management apparently forgot to get a visa for their guy, Tony DeCopel. I think that's how you say his last name. He's the new anchor whose ratings are plummeting. Couldn't get to China, didn't get the visa.
Had to broadcast from Taiwan.
Broadcasting from a country away in Taiwan. I mean, isn't this just delicious?
Yeah, well, it's a disaster. This is what happens when you put anyone in charge of a complex system that has absolutely no experience running it, right? It's great she has a fresh idea. I'm all for commentators being in charge of newsroom. I hope there's a future for me doing that as well. But, I'm sure they are letting her fail. Right. Yeah. I am absolutely sure. So? Absolutely. I mean, when the meetings that we have, right, and the meetings that you have just to cover something like the St. Patrick's Day Parade or the Karen Reed auto auction, you get spreadsheets, you get, call times, you get all these things. What do we need? Can we fly the drone? And to think that there wasn't one person who was waiting for her to ask, do we need visas? And just let her fail.
Yeah,
well, it's a disaster.
I disagree.
What do you think? What do you think?
Well, actually, and I'm a little biased too because CBS News has asked me to be a contributor, and I'm hoping to do that.
Oh, well, don't say anything that's ruining your chances.
Wait a second.
Okay, I may have lost the chance. I don't know.
What kind of thing?
Reporting news, and I think, right now CBS News, and I think like all of broadcast TV, it's going through like major changes and viewership. And I think with CBS News, there's been major shakeups. Obviously, I am not like a supporter of anybody getting laid off or losing their jobs. I think that's horrible. But I think, shaking things up and, trying out new things at CBS News and what they're trying to do, isn't a bad idea. And I'm not sure about the whole visa situation. I did hear about that, and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, it was kind of trying to say you're over there in Taiwan because they could be affected by what Trump and Xi agreed to was a little thin.
Can I say something to the record, though, if I can?
Local or CBS local, Emily?
No, national.
Or
national.
Network.
It would be national.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say hello to Barry for us.
So, yeah.
I want to be clear.
If I see her, I will.
I want to speak for Marjorie on this in light of the fact that we're fans of Emily. One, we love Barry Weiss. And David Ellison, come on down. Love the whole Ellison family.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, no, what they're trying to do, which I also, we're trying to do it at NBC as well, which is, why I'm doing what I'm doing on Instagram, which I was not on at all, like until they made me do it, is trying to bring in different voices and different perspectives. The challenge is, as we all know, you have to hang on to the audience you have, or hope that the new audience you have is going to will replace the ones that leave. So that's, I think, the challenge that CBS is going through right now. Is a lot of people left. The new people haven't come on, if they're coming on yet. So we'll have to see what happens.
Well, I mean, in a serious moment, I'd love to talk to you in a couple of months, Emily, and see how much freedom you have. I'm sure you're pretty much used to it at the Globe. You've been there a quarter century.
Yeah.
And the question is, are you I mean, there was the whole thing with Sharon Alphonse, as we know, on 60 Minutes and that report on the prison. Will an Emily Sweeney have freedom? And by the way, not to belabor this, let me just say one more thing. CBS has written a check for $16 million. NBC has not written any checks to the Trump library. Have they?
Comcast has contributed to the ballroom.
I'm talking about in those phony lawsuits.
No, our phony lawsuits.
By the way, you just mentioned, in case people don't know, why is the Karen Reed SUV?
Emily was there yesterday,
so
I'm going to defer to.
Yeah, so I was there, and the auction. The auction didn't happen. It was a little. It's kind of bizarre. It was just a weird event in general. There was a lot of media there. Howie Carr was broadcasting live.
No, he was. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes. Brilliant. That's brilliant.
It was kind of set as like a fundraiser of sorts. That's how it was like kind of, pitched, at least among the people there. I haven't been able to confirm this.
For Karen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's but
so
again,
she's
I haven't
selling
confirmed
the car
that.
because this is the car that had something to do, we don't know exactly what, with the demise of her ex-boyfriend. She doesn't want to drive it anymore. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, it was a leased car, and an auto place in Weymouth put it up for auction.
Oh, okay.
And they withdrew it at the end because they had a private bidder who was offering more money.
Yeah,
wasn't that the deal?
I only saw like two, I think, legitimate bidders in the small crowd that was there.
Okay.
So they had a private offer right before the auction already. And then when they heard that there was so few bidders, that they were like, okay, we're going with that price.
By the way, when Howie was broadcasting live from the auction, we were broadcasting live yesterday from the Hot Bar at Whole Foods Market.
Oh, wow.
Which is where we think most of the action comes. Yeah.
But I missed out on this. Why is the car being auctioned? Because it's a lease car, or because she wanted to get rid of it?
She needs the money.
Yeah, and again, technically, she's not the owner. And again, we were just told this, supposedly the owner was going to give her some of the proceeds. I don't know if that's...
She had to continue to make payments on it while it was in the possession of the district attorney's office. So
while it's impounded? She's still
she had
paying
to
for the
she
damn
had
thing?
to pay for it, or she would have to, default on the lease. And as a former Fidelity employee, she said to me, "I don't want to default on a lease. I don't want it on my credit." Right? So she had to. So when they take
a long time
when
impounded.
they take your personal items, and they're evidence in a crime, they get impounded. And if you own them, you have to pay for them. Now,
how long until she got her phone back?
She still hasn't gotten her phone back, right? She still has.
I'm not sure the status of the phone.
So how long was the car impounded? Years?
Yeah, 3 years.
Wow.
So she's found
doing?
not guilty on 2 charges, she still had to pay for it, and
she's
it
driving?
had it didn't have a lot of miles on it, but it had
12,000
rodents. There was rodent dirt in it. It had been, if you don't drive a car and keep it moving, it starts to diminish. So it was a very shady thing. We don't know who the money was going to or any of that.
I went inside the vehicle. I gotta say, it was very swank. It was very nice interior. It was a very bizarre event. It was like a Lexus SUV, 2021.
So our original intent was to talk about AI with you, but as a favor to a colleague of ours, you do?
Yeah, but
unfortunately we have no time.
Oh, that's okay.
So,
we do.
We do have time for, and this is a courtesy to one of our coworkers whose favorite work you've ever done is the story about your father.
Oh, yes.
And the subway tracks. Would you mind, for people who have not heard this?
My grandfather's lucky leg.
And share the story. Do you mind?
Oh, no, of course.
Good.
So my grandfather, my mother grew up in the West End. She was born in the West End, and all her siblings. And when the West End got torn down, they moved to the Columbia Point projects in Dorchester.
Oh, that's a tough project.
So, yeah. And so my grandfather, it was 1955, and he was downtown, probably visiting friends in the West End, maybe having a beer, maybe having a couple, I don't know. And he was running to get the train to go back to Dorchester, right? Park Street Station, he's running. and he falls, takes a tumble into the pit. His leg hits the third rail. People are like, "What?" But he wasn't electrocuted.
Why is that?
And because he had a wooden leg. Thankfully, I guess. And and so that story of like his wooden leg kind of being saved by his wooden leg it appeared in newspapers across the country. And
why did he have a wooden leg?
You know, he was originally from Pennsylvania. When he was a little boy, it was like a mining town, and he was playing on a rail, and one of he got injured, and he didn't tell his family because he wasn't supposed to be playing on the rails. And it got so infected he had to lose his leg.
So did the sparks fly anyway with a wooden leg, or no sparks?
You know, I don't think sparks flew.
Sparks don't fly. No.
But you know,
fly?
Not with wood,
not with wood.
And
okay, so that was it.
he got around on his wooden leg so well. A lot of people. My aunts tell me, like, you couldn't even tell he had a wooden leg. He held up his socks with thumbtacks. I mean,
he held up his socks with thumbtacks. That's great.
That's a story.
They didn't hit the rail, because that would have been a different story.
I think of him every time I'm at Park Street Station, and now you can too.
I'm going to think of him. I was just going to say.
So you're not thinking about moving to Ireland because you said you got the grandmother roots there.
Yeah, well, you know, I got my dual citizenship, and
Was it expensive?
It wasn't that expensive.
Yeah.
Like, if you do it on your own and get all the paperwork and stuff, it wasn't too bad.
So if things don't work out, you can always go over.
Yeah, you know, I was like that. Keep the options open, I guess. You know.
So when you come back soon, hopefully we'll do AI. We just ran out of time.
Oh yeah,
okay?
no, absolutely.
Emily,
Thank you.
congratulations on everything, and Sue, I'm telling you, I hope you know.
What's left? What's
from
left
the,
for
what
me to
is
do?
exactly?
What is left
what
for me
is
to
there
do
left
that
to
could
do?
just get Jim upset? You know, what can we do?
No, I am jealous but proud at the same time.
Thank you very much.
It's great to see you both. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
for your time.
thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for coming in. We've been speaking with our media maven, Sue O'Connell, and Boston Globe columnist and crime reporter Emily Sweeney, who's nationally famous now because of her great Rat Dorchester accent that we read about in the Globe and the New York Times.
When is CBS News happening? Do you know? You're not
soon, not sure.
Okay, great. Good luck.
Really. Thank you very much for coming in, both of you. We're sorry about the library. Okay, coming up after this quick break, Chef Jody Adams and nonprofit leader Billy Shore, ahead of the annual Chef's Cycle, a fundraiser for No Kids Hungry. They're next. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, listening to BPR 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, we're live from the Boston Public Library. All Things Considered host and real-life magician Arun Rath is back to transform the Curiosity Desk into the Mystery Desk, bringing us a real-life trick that you can perform at home. Only have a couple pennies and one dime to your name? Hey, that's enough. It's the Curiosity Desk, today at 1 on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you. And GM Roth Design Remodeling, providing custom kitchens, bathrooms, and accessory dwelling units. Their design team works to create living-in-place solutions tailored to the needs of each home and family. More information at gmroth.com.
And White Flower Farm, a mail-order plant nursery in Connecticut, offering garden plants, growing supplies, and gifts for gardeners. More at whiteflowerfarm.com.
Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy. We are not at the library. We've apologized a lot. We'll continue to. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're joined now by two big names at the intersection of food and fighting hunger. James Beard Award-winning chef Jody Adams and nonprofit leader Billy Shore join us in Brighton ahead of the annual Chef's Cycle fundraiser for No Kids Hungry. Nearly $1 million has been raised ahead of this year's event, and the need, I'm sure you know, is higher than ever. Here in Massachusetts alone, more than 40% of families are facing food insecurity. Across the country, nearly 50 million Americans are food Insecure. Jody Adams, James Beard Award-winning chef owner behind the likes of Trade, Porto, Saloniki, La Padrona. Billy Shore is the founder and executive chair of Share Our Strength. That's the parent organization for the No Kid Hungry program campaign, which we'll tell you all about. NoKidHungry.org. Jody, it's great to see you. Billy, it's great to meet you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here. Yeah. And thank you for all the food you brought in.
We'll talk about the food, too.
But Billy, tell people who don't know, elaborate on what Jim said, Share Our Strength. Tell us what it's about.
Yeah, so Share Our Strength was founded really to end hunger in this country, particularly childhood hunger. And everything Jim just said is accurate in terms of how dire the problem is. But at the same time, we know that it's a solvable problem. We have no shortage of food in the country. We have no shortage of food assistance programs, SNAP and school meals, school breakfast, school lunch, things like that. We have a lot of barriers. And as Congressman Jim McGovern from here would say, we have a shortage of political will. But it's a solvable problem. And so Share Our Strength has been focused on knocking down whatever barriers exist between eligible children and families and the programs that they should be getting.
Okay, so every time I text you, you're cycling somewhere in the world, Jody Adams. When are you cycling in Oregon and why?
So I'm cycling the first weekend in June with Billy.
Yes.
Because of Billy.
Yeah.
Who bugs me every year, or his sister does, or somebody, and says, "Are you going to ride?" It's a 2-day, 200-mile ride in Bend, Oregon.
Wow.
To raise millions and millions, not just $1 million. We want to raise more than $1 million for the No Kid Hungry program under Share Our Strength.
And who rides this?
All kinds of people. I haven't ridden this one yet. I know that
it's mostly chefs.
Chefs.
It is. Yeah, it's about we'll have about 150 riders. Probably 130 of them will be chefs
from across the country,
from everywhere.
So, Billy, you just mentioned political will. So what do you think it is? Because we certainly read about it during the pandemic. We've read about it since the pandemic. That a lot of people, including children, go to bed hungry at night. So, what is the political problem? Why can't we, in the richest country on earth, get our act together here?
It makes no sense, and it's getting worse. There's a story in the Portland papers this morning about 8,000 people being pushed off the SNAP program in Maine. I think here in Massachusetts, about 80,000 people have been squeezed off of the program because of these new regulations.
Close to 50,000 of whom are kids, by the way.
And 50,000 are kids.
Yeah.
And I think, to your question, first of all, a lot of people are not aware of the issue of hunger, which is why conversations like this are so important to us, because it does raise awareness, and people are shocked when they find out how many kids, families, veterans, whoever, are hungry in this country, and they don't realize that we actually have the programs to solve them. So it just seems like very counterproductive to be cutting these programs right now, because kids, we know that they do better in school, that their attendance is better, their grades are better, everything, when we feed them. And these programs, by the way, started after World War II, when admirals and generals came back from the war, and they said to Congress, our troops are not fit enough and strong enough. We need to start feeding kids in school. That's where this began.
I've told the story many a time in the air. A good friend of mine used to be president of the Boston Teachers Union, then the American Federation of Teachers from Massachusetts, Kathy Kelly. And she would testify in front of the legislature about funding for public schools. And she would always say in her testimony, which was beautiful, unless my kids are safe walking to school, unless my kids have X, unless my kids are well fed when they get there, don't give me money for education, because they can't learn. And it's amazing to me that people don't make the connection. And by the way, if you're wondering why Marjorie is smiling as you were speaking, Billy, one of Marjorie's pet peeves whenever we talk, whether it's with Jim McGovern or whoever we talk about, food insecurity, you talk about hunger. And she says that's something that all of us can relate to, as opposed to this sort of
you don't know what that means.
Kind of,
what does food insecure mean?
It makes
hungry.
It's a pet peeve of mine, because food insecurity is really kind of a socioeconomic measure. It's based on asking families, do they have anxiety about whether their money's going to run out at the end of the month, and whoever's in the bottom kind of quintile, whether the economy is good or weak, presents as insecure, because they are insecure relative to other people. So that number doesn't really move. And what's important to us is, kids might be living below the poverty line. Their families might even be food insecure. But if they're getting 3 meals a day, that they're not hungry. And that's our goal.
You were going to say something. Your mouth is open.
I was
so
just going to say, I think to maybe an answer to your question, Marjorie, is that it's invisible in many cases. And I think that's why it isn't something that people are jumping up and down about. You know, if there was an awareness because it was more visible, I think that would be a different story.
That's true, but I would also add that we have been conditioned in recent years, sadly, to not give a damn about poor people in this country. They're not us, and and when you meld those two things, that's the outcome. I mean, people know you, Jody, and we've talked to you a lot. I mean, obviously, you do a lot of incredibly important community-based political things. I would say if a survey was done, if there was an occupation of people who do things for others, chefs and restaurateurs, I'm serious, would be at the top of the list. You're nodding in agreement. Why is that?
It's in our nature to give. We are in the business of service, whether it's the front of the house or the back of the house. We get tremendous satisfaction and joy and purpose giving. And so having the opportunity to use the platform that we have to give to people who don't worry where a meal comes from, to balance that with giving to people who do, is sort of a seamless expression of what we do. So I was telling Billy, the Greater Boston Food Bank had their big event last night, Taste of Greater Boston Food Bank. And the chefs, there were over 30 chefs there. They were so happy to be there, excited to be there, to be a part of something that's going to move the needle for so many families.
I'm glad you asked that the way you did, Jim, because it's not an accident that Jody's here. Jody was actually one of the very first people to get involved in Share Our Strength 40 years ago. And chefs not only give, but they nurture. They're creative. They're anchors in the community. They're just so important to this work.
Can we spend a minute talking about you? We know her. We don't know you. We know of you. Can we spend a minute?
That's why I brought him.
Yeah, I was told
only a minute,
there are two things I'd like to direct at you. I was told by an incredibly reliable source that you don't eat vegetables. Is that correct?
Christopher Myers.
It might be Christopher Myers. It might not. I don't know.
With this issue,
do you eat vegetables? Yes or no? Yes or no, please.
No.
Okay. And what is that? What is that about?
I don't know. It just started out that way, and it's been hard to overcome.
How about fruit? Do you eat apple?
I do eat fruit. I eat an apple every day.
Okay, so he's making up a little bit in the fruit side.
Okay, and the second thing I want to direct about you is not to you. I was instructed by the same Christopher Myers to ask the question of Jody Adams. Christopher Myers, of Myers and Chang and Flour, etc., with Joanne Chang, obviously, said to me yesterday, and I wrote this down. I had to pull my car over because I want to get the exact wordings. Billy, you ready for this? Is the closest thing to a living saint I've ever met. I knew you'd hate it. Excuse me. Am I talking to you or am I talking to her?
Ask my wife.
Okay, and he said, ask Jody, which you're Jody. Ask Jody if that is true. Is that true?
That is true.
And why is that true? How uncomfortable are you, by the way?
Because
Very, okay.
I think
worse than the vegetable question.
Go ahead.
Because he wakes up every morning and asks, how can I feed these children? And what can I do? And he does it with grace and dignity and a way of connecting with people that is incredibly powerful without making people feel guilty or badly or just they want to do it. And this is what you committed your life to.
Why did you commit your life to this? How'd that happen?
So it started back in the 1980s. If you remember the Ethiopian famine, big cataclysmic event.
Gosh, yeah.
We didn't have social media then, but we learned about it through the networks, and there were all these celebrity-driven activities. Bob Geldof, USA for Africa, We Are the World, and we looked at those and we said they're great, but they're all going to be gone in 5 years because that's the nature of celebrity-driven stuff. And could we create a more lasting institution to work on hunger? We ended up pivoting to mostly domestic, but the real point is, and when Jody said, we don't make people feel guilty about it, the whole idea of Share Our Strength is to think positively about the fact that we all have a strength to share, that everybody has something to give. So this Chef Cycle ride is like the essence of sharing your strength, like literally, physically, riding 200 miles in 2 days. But the notion was, and my background was political, Jim. I'd worked
with Gary Hart, Bob Kerrey.
Yeah. And so I came away with some experiences doing community organizing and fundraising and stuff like that, but also with the feeling that politics leaves so many good people out just because of the way politics is today. And there's so many talented people, liberal and conservative, who want to give something back to their community.
Were you with Gary Hart with the boat deal?
I wasn't near the boat. My
Yeah.
job with Gerhardt was to be with them every minute, and every 8 weeks we'd take a weekend off. He'd go his way, I'd go mine,
Yeah.
and that's when it happened.
By the way,
Remember the name of the boat? The Monkey Business.
Monkey, I do.
Great name.
By the way, you probably don't. We interviewed him
Yeah, we
right
did.
when he re-entered
We
the
did,
presidential
yeah.
race, and he's willing to answer. I gave NoKidHungry.org as a website. Is that the primary one we
it
should be
is.
doing?
It is.
And if people want to contribute to your
The
ride,
chef cycle,
yeah.
and also Billy's writing. He's,
Well, how do they
he's
do
got
that?
his contributions taken care of.
Right.
I need a little help.
Is that through
It's
No
chef-
Kid Hungry?
No,
Oh.
it's chefcycle.org.
Chef plural.
Chefs.
Yes.
Cycle.org. And then search, you can find my name.
Fair enough.
You know, I wonder if we are different from other wealthy countries. Do other places do better than we do on this issue of food?
Well, they do a lot better. I mean, the government takes a bigger role in certainly most, industrial countries, Western European countries. These issues don't exist in the same way.
They don't. And
No.
what are they doing that we're not?
They're
government
funding
subs-
public programs,
Yeah.
whether it's different types of food assistance or other types of public assistance.
So that's
And
what we need to do, is have more government help.
I think that, as somebody who's worked in the nonprofit sector for all these years, I've always felt that there's things the nonprofits can do that government can't do in terms of being entrepreneurial and innovative and closer to the people you serve. But once you have a program that works, you need public support to scale it, to make sure that it reaches everybody. And we've done that very, very well with some programs like, school breakfast and school lunch, and less so with other programs that have got caught up, frankly, in culture war kind of issues. The SNAP, there was a time 40 years ago where people thought that there was, fraud and waste and abuse in the SNAP program, and maybe there was, but it's all been wrung out. I mean, the program is so efficient now, but it's still kind of a culture war issue. If you're for SNAP, you're probably for all these other kind of like woke things that everybody, seems to want to.
Who started? I've had
today.
this discussion. I used to be a legal services lawyer, and Ronald Reagan, when he was proposing to abolish legal services for the poor, I called it government by anecdote. He cited one example in Connecticut, a case that I won't go into, that shouldn't have been taken by legal services, and he broadened that to be that's all. And same deal. There's somebody who maybe should be working, and the work requirements go into place that is causing as many, I think it was 5 million people were dropped from the SNAP rolls in the first year of his second term, which is sadism. I mean, it is really unbelievable.
And of course, the amount of money we're talking about are rounding errors, relative to what we're spending, on our military and other things, on the ballroom, things like that.
So beyond
Can I just say who we're talking to? We're talking to Jody Adams from a bunch of restaurants, and she's riding in this chef's thing. And if you want to contribute to her ride, you go to chefcycle.org, and look for her name, Jody Adams. And the other guy doesn't eat vegetables. Go ahead, that's Billy Shore.
So
Go ahead.
you can absolutely donate to Chef Cycle, the .org. Did you say Chef Cycle?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And No Kid Hungry, I've seen that.
Either one, and they're linked together.
Yeah, they're
You'll
linked
find
together.
Chef Cycle,
But what else can people do? Should people be on the backs of their politicians, or what should people do? Because it's awful to think about children not having enough to eat.
Yeah, it is awful, and as we were talking about earlier, the problem being larger than it is. We split our time between Boston and Kennebunkport, and Kennebunkport's in York County. York County has a food pantry that serves 3,000 people a month in the county that Kennebunkport and Nagunquit and these other well-off towns are in. And when you stand there and you see people coming in now for the first time because of what's happened with prices and cuts in programs and so forth. It's heartbreaking. I was standing there with a man came in the other day and he said, I've never had to do this before. How does it work? What am I allowed to take? He was a 50-year-old man who was dressed as nice as anybody else. And he'd never needed to ask for that type of help. So there's a lot of things people can do. They can donate, they can volunteer. But using your voice, to me, is the most important thing, because this is a solvable problem. And, kind of the tragedy of our time right now, and you've probably seen this in more areas than I have, is so many of the elected officials who are opposing these programs don't really oppose them. They're afraid and they're intimidated by President Trump. So many Republican senators have always been good on these issues, and all of a sudden they're running for cover. And if you talk to them privately, they're not against these programs.
Can we get back to you talk about the numbers of people who are who need food, supplemental food, and are going. I think it was Catherine D'Amato, speaking of the Greater Boston Food Bank. Somebody told us here a bunch of months ago that as the need is growing, there's so many people who've never applied for anything or never sought anything like this, and there's still a stigma around. Do you see that, or are people overcoming it?
No, absolutely. I think there is a stigma, and people, particularly for people who have just never had to avail themselves of this. And the numbers are big. 42 million Americans have been on SNAP for the last 8 years. 42 million. About half of them are kids. So as new people kind of come onto these programs, I think it's very hard for them.
By the way, the WIC program is also being cut, Women, Infants, and Children, which also has an impact on kids. Is it crass in the middle of this discussion to ask you what incredible food you brought? Because you bought it as if we're at the library with tons of people. Is that really crass to get into?
No, because this is what's going to fuel us.
Okay.
On our ride.
What you bring? Which of your many restaurant empire places is it from?
Before, after the rides, I brought sandwiches that reflect what we like to eat, which is sandwiches from Saloniki. So we have zucchini fritters. We have a falafel sandwich.
Love falafel.
We have a chicken Caesar wrap, our version. We have a lamb meatballs, and we have a grilled chicken sandwich. So we have 6 of our sandwiches here, and they're great to eat before you. Either the day before, or the day after, or when you finish a long ride. In the middle of the ride, you want sugar as quickly as possible. I know you're not. If you're an athlete, you don't say sugar as quickly as possible. You probably say something else. But anyway,
see this?
I saw it.
So on the PMC, which I also ride,
Fluffernutter. Oh my God, that's a riot.
You're allowed to eat Fluffernutters. So I brought Fluffernutters.
You're incredible.
And then the kids on the side of the road.
Eating a Fluffernutter.
I know.
Okay.
The kids on the side of the road dangle Twizzlers, which is a favorite snack when you're riding up a hill. So I brought everything that you could want for a 2-day, 200-mile ride.
Where was Marshmallow Fluff invented? What city? Oh, you better know this.
Was it here?
Somerville,
Somerville, sorry.
Come on, Jody Adams.
I grew up in one of those households where my mother made the bread.
Oh, my
Fluffernutter never entered the house. We had graham crackers as cookies. It was really boring.
Back to Billy Shore, you are a relentless. It's pretty obvious knowing of you and now knowing you a little bit. Are you a hopeful person in terms of this issue? Because people like you and Jim McGovern and other Jody and other wonderful people have been doing this for a long time, and it hasn't been fixed.
Yeah, it hasn't been fixed, but it has become a lot better than it used to be. So yes, I am hopeful. I actually think we'll see an end to childhood hunger, in our lifetimes. Maybe not poverty, maybe not food insecurity, but we'll get kids fed.
Okay, so an individual who's listening, who hopefully will contribute to your ride at chefcycle.org.
And all the money goes to Share Our Strength. The Chef Cycle ride goes to...
Or will contribute to... Other than making a financial contribution, what can people do that care about this? We talked about calling the legislator. There's got to be more. What's the more?
Yeah, I think they could work with in addition to their legislatures, they could work with their school district, make sure their schools have what they need to provide school lunch and school breakfast. The foods are 100% federally reimbursed, but sometimes schools don't have trays or transportation or refrigeration. So there's lots of different levels in which people, I think, can find ways to contribute to the solution.
Fabulous.
Congratulations
to both of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Are you nervous about riding 200 miles or no?
No, because I've done the PMC for 16 years, so I know I can do it.
Excuse me.
But I understand there's a couple of hills.
There, it's not the miles, it's the hills. We do a 4,800 feet climb the first day.
Oh my God!
So they're a little.
I don't even know what that means.
I'm
not even looking because I don't want to know.
That's a lot.
I'm going on a need-to-know basis.
But you know what you should do? Can I make a brilliant suggestion if I say so myself? The last couple of years, Jim McGovern is called in from his walk across Massachusetts.
With Joe Kennedy.
And Joe Kennedy's been with him both years. Why don't you call in one of you,
Jody, you have to,
from your bike?
Okay.
And maybe even pull over for a second. We'll work it out with the producers. You call in from the ride.
Say, help!
Exactly.
Maybe she could call at 4,800 feet and see how she's
we
doing.
Do this?
Yeah.
And he can talk too when you call in.
Well, he may be way ahead of me.
Well, whatever.
I doubt it. Well, I said to my wife, when we had that 5-mile hill in the midway of this, I said, honey, I really want to get over the hill. And she said, honey, you're already over the hill.
But
Is that Crater
he's performing
Lake
in the
out there?
lounge Gorge on
Yeah.
Thursdays.
Bend, Oregon,
I've never
Crater
been.
Lake out there. I think so.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know, but it's the Deschutes River Canyon that we're riding along, and it's spectacular.
Okay.
You have a good radio voice. You ever do radio?
No, but I get told that sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's true.
But
Yeah.
anyhow, I'll be drafting behind Jody.
Okay.
Thank
Great
you
to
so
see you
much
both.
for
Thank you.
coming
Thanks
in.
for the
Thank
food.
you. You're
We'll share it with
so-
a lot of people.
So welcome.
It's wonderful
Yeah.
to see you.
We've been speaking with Jody Adams, James Beard Award-winning chef behind the likes of Trade, Porto, how do you say it?
Saloniki.
Saloniki, thank you. Here in Boston,
La
Billy
Padrona.
Shore is...
Some of us are going to La
and
Padrona tomorrow
yeah, sure
night,
that, La
Marjorie.
Padrona. Oh my God, La Padrona.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night? You're going
I
there
am.
tomorrow night?
Yes, I am.
Jim loves La Padrona.
I do.
I've been to La
We
Padrona.
love that Jim loves.
Yeah, and I've been there as well.
You have?
Yes, I have.
That is correct.
Yes, I have. Billy Shore is the founder and executive chair of Share Our Strength, the parent organization for the No Kid Hungry campaign. That is nokidhungry.org, just like it sounds, nokidhungry.org. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to open the lines on this National Bike Work Day. And we're talking
Bike to
about
Work Day, too.
riding bike. National Bike to Work Day, excuse me, Jim.
Thank you.
Are you strapping the helmet on and foregoing the bus and car commute? I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, listening to BPR 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
This week on Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, a first-of-its-kind museum in Providence highlights the stories of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And more than 200 years after its creation, Mahjong is taking over pop culture and kitchen tables across the country. It's a celebration of AAPI Heritage Month. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Porter Square Books, presenting Matt Haig, author of The Midnight Library, discussing his new book, The Midnight Train, with novelist Alice Hoffman. Sunday, May 31st. Info at portersquarebooks.com. And Johnson & Wales University, committed to accessibility in higher education and to opening doors for all qualified students to new opportunities with the JWU Pledge. Details at jwu.edu.
Okay, welcome back to BPR on 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy. This has been a discombobulated day. We're not at the library where we intended to be. Technical problems. We hope they'll be fixed by Tuesday. We'll let you know. We're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We wanted to talk about, is it National Bike to Work Day?
Yes.
But we have 4 minutes. So we got to talk about it fast. And maybe Edgar will join us to talk about that. And if you also want to talk, how was that fluffernutter sandwich, by the way?
Delicious.
It was?
Jody Adams said her mother baked her own bread. They never had them.
Is that true?
I had a fluffernutter
God,
every
look
day
who's
for
here.
3 years.
Hello.
7th, 8th,
Edgar,
and 9th
did you
grade.
bike to work today, yes or no?
I did not bike to work
Do
today.
you know that it's national? This is your kind of thing, curiosity test
Yeah,
stuff.
it is.
It is National Bike to Work Day. Do you
I
care
thought
about that or not?
I thought it was National Bike Work Day, so I did some work on my bike.
Making fun of you, actually, Marjorie. Do you get that, or you don't?
I get it. I make a lot of mistakes.
No, I mean,
Edgar.
listen,
what are
it's
you
nice.
gonna do?
It's nice that they have a day for it, but
Yeah, it's very nice.
biking to it is hard for me to bike to work when work is this spot is hard to get to.
Hannah
on a
lost bikes to work here, so
Well,
why
where
can
is
she do it and not you?
Where is she starting from?
I don't know where the hell
She's
she's
coming from
starting.
Maine.
She's not coming
Maine.
from Maine.
I love that idea.
She's not coming
commuting to work from Maine
Yeah.
on a bike.
No, I find it very scary. I find it very. I've
Do
thought
you?
about it, but well, because I mean, when you drive next to a bike lane all the time, which I do a lot, it makes me nervous. I mean, I'm always afraid that somebody's going to swerve or somebody's going to open a car door.
It's true. And it is scary. Like, I mean, I bike around a fair amount. I was just talking to Zoe in the control room a little bit about it. Like, kind of neighborhood biking, I like to do errands, but I'm pretty, I wouldn't say careful, but over time I have learned which routes I feel fairly comfortable on, right?
Like the Minuteman Trail, where you're not going to get run over by a
that's
car,
amazing.
something
Yeah,
like that.
That's great. And there are, other ways you can go where it's not as busy. There aren't as many cars. It's not as sort of heart in your throat the entire time. But yeah, it is like scary when you're on a busy road and there's lots of traffic. I mean, it can be, it's scary.
The only thing that I've thought a lot about this, most of the places, not all, I admit, most of the places that you two might bike to or Hannah would bike to, You can drive too. So, I mean, is that not true? I mean, maybe not on the trail itself.
Throw the bike in the car with the
right on the back
just being
thing,
like,
and
maybe
then
I'll take a ride on
Well,
the
a lot
bike.
of people
but just
do
toss
it.
in
I
the
mean,
car.
we need to, because I drive down Beacon Street to come to the library. Beacon Street is packed with bike riders, and so is Commonwealth Avenue. I mean,
Which is
lots of people do
helpful.
it.
I mean, I feel a little bit safer when there's more bikers around. So that's the other thing is there's you know, and then, but then if there's too many bikers, that itself is also dangerous. So there's sort of that perfect Goldilocks number that you're looking for.
Remember Shirley Young? She drove from Quincy.
No, Milton.
Milton.
With tons of
Milton
people. She wrote
to,
about it.
Downtown Boston.
Yeah.
She was never going to do it again, she said. That was it.
So can we change gears because we only have a minute here before we talk about the show? Fluffer, I have to say, and this is not a reflection on the brilliant artistry of Jody Adams.
Yeah.
Marjorie loved it. I am not a fluffernutter fan.
You are a non-fluffernutter.
No, I like peanut butter. And by the way, I've grown to like peanut butter more since I've known Marjorie. I was not a huge peanut butter fan. I am a fairly big fan
And do you
now.
have feelings about that? Like, can it be crunchy or does it
I
have
have to
be
say, I can go
smooth,
both
or-
ways.
You can go both
I
ways.
can, I can.
And do you do the natural or can it be like
Teddy's and
Jiffer? Okay,
Teddy's
so
only
you do the
Teddy's.
natural.
Now, but
Teddy's
the
is very
fluff
good.
thing, I don't like it in combo with the peanut butter.
Do you like marshmallows?
I do. I hate marshmallows.
Okay, well then
with
there's
one
your
exception. No,
issue.
excuse me. With one exception, I do like a basic s'more.
Okay.
I mean, when they're toasted perfectly or whatever they are, and they melt a little bit, and the chocolate melts a little bit, and the graham cracker thing happens, that's a whole different experience.
So I feel like your entry into the fluffernutter
Yeah.
potentially is to toast some marshmallow and put that on one side of the bread, and then have some peanut butter. Like go for a toasted fluffernutter.
Yeah, but the
You can
problem is
invent
you
the
ultimately
toasted
get to
fluffernutter.
the inside of the
You-
marshmallow, which is really
you do.
not.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about this? Or
I would like to say that every day in 7th, 8th,
what is
9th
that?
grade,
Zoe just asked me crunchy. What was the question? I just said I can go. One of the things I am is versatile. Would you
Yes.
agree? I'm
I would
versatile.
agree. I would agree
And
with
so
that, yeah.
some days I eat crunchy. Some days
you
I
go
eat
smooth.
Smooth, yeah.
My thing, I like the natural,
Yeah.
like Teddy's natural peanut
I
butter,
like it
but
too.
the key is you got to add a little more salt. There's not quite enough salt in it. If
It's
you
local.
add-
Isn't Teddy's local
It
too?
is
It
local.
is
yeah.
local, yeah.
Just like the fluff is local.
That I
right?
know that, yeah.
I would like to
presumably.
say, before I was
please.
interrupted,
I'm
every
sorry,
day
sorry,
in
sorry.
7th, 8th, and 9th grade and junior high school, I had the same thing for lunch every
Peanut butter
day.
jelly?
Which was?
A fluffernutter sandwich on sunbeam
Wow.
bread with Twinkies for dessert, and I ruined my teeth. I had about 19,000 cavities by the time I was 15 years old.
Wow,
It was
that
very
is
bad.
that is amazing.
You would prefer a fluffernutter to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Not now.
Wait, as long as we're talking about peanut butter sandwiches, so I'm a big proponent of the peanut butter and pickle. How do you feel? Have you tried the peanut butter and
Okay,
pickle
let me
sandwich?
be clear
Go
about
ahead.
this. Someone says to me, you can have peanut butter and pickle sandwich.
Yep.
Or you can be waterboarded for 24 hours. I'll say, bring on the waterboarding.
That is oftentimes people's reactions. I will just say this.
Please.
We know you like peanut butter.
I love peanut butter.
Do you
I love
like
pickles. I love pickles.
Try it.
Not happening.
We're going to do it on air.
What are you doing on your show quickly?
We're going to, well, back by popular demand, ATC host Arun Rath is
I
going to
know
do
him.
some more radio
Magic
magic.
tricks.
No.
Oh my gosh.
This time he's got a coin trick, which folks can do at home. So we tried it with cards. We're going to try it with coins. We're going to talk a little bit more about the world of magic and the history of magic on the radio. And Arun, if you're listening out there, folks, grab some pennies and a dime, and you can do a trick. Arun's going to walk us through it. Incredible.
You're not at the library either, by the way.
No,
For
we are
those
not
who
at the library, yes.
Okay. Speaking of the library, apologies again for the library, especially people who came down there to see the shows today, and none of us were there. We hope to fix it by next week. You can keep up with us 24/7 wherever our podcast, or check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. On Monday, we're going to speak with food policy analyst Corby Cummer, Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers Michael Curry, and a conversation with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and her father, Martin Terrell. I think you're going to love that one. Our crew is Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, Ariana Gonzalez. Our engineer is John LaClaw Parker. Our executive producer is Jamie Bologna. Stay tuned to Edgar and the Curiosity Desk, and the Magic Tricks starts immediately after us here on 89.7 GBH, and the Culture Show starts at exactly 2 o'clock.
Can I say something, if I may?
What?
We don't pre-tape many segments. Almost 95% of our show is live. I think it's fine to say we pre-taped this interview with Ayanna Pressley and her father, Martin Terrell. It is...
Yeah,
it was
her father was
spectacular.
in jail for a considerable amount of time. She talks about the relationship
And
with him.
he's become a brilliant writer,
Yep.
poet. I mean, the whole relationship. It's just a beautiful interview. It's going to play at noon on Monday, and I wouldn't miss it. Edgar, good luck with your show. Don't screw it up,
you.
okay?
Yeah, we'll do our
Good
best.
luck to
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you for tuning in.
Have a wonderful
great
weekend, everybody. See you. Bye.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's how-tos and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you. And Middlebury College in Middlebury, Vermont, dedicated to educating thoughtful, ethical, and globally informed leaders in the liberal arts, preparing them to address the world's most challenging problems. More at middlebury.edu. And Cambridge Savings Bank, CSB, is committed to improving the financial well-being of local small businesses through financial education and banking services. Learn more at cambridgesavings.com. Member FDIC.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk. Well, for years, GBH's Kirk Carapezza was our newsroom's resident Chicken Little, predicting that the sky was falling for small and mid-sized colleges across the country. Now, the chicken has come home to roost. If they're not going belly up like Hampshire College, they are consolidating, restructuring, and considering tuition discounts as high as 60%. Then, 2 weeks ago, astronomers who study exoplanets identified 10,000 potential new worlds out in the cosmos. Sounds like NASA's first ever exoplanet ambassador has her work cut out for her. Then, All Things Considered host and real-life magician Arun Rath is back with a magic trick that you, yes, you, can perform at home. Only have a couple pennies and a dime to your name? That's enough. It's all ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump is returning to the U.S. after completing his state visit to China. Chinese leader Xi Jinping touted Trump's trip as a historic and landmark visit. Trump was the last American president to travel to China. NPR's Jennifer Pack reports that visit was almost 9 years ago.
President Xi says China and the U.S. have set a new vision for, quote, a constructive relationship of strategic stability. That refers to President Trump's narrative of great power competition since his first term, according to Wu Xinbo, a leading American studies scholar at Shanghai's Fudan University. He says Presidents Xi and Trump are now setting a new direction, a wish.
Both want to have stable, predictable, and more cooperative relations.
He says China sees meetings between leaders as a way to set parameters for further discussions, which is why China has not confirmed any specific deals made yet. Jennifer Pack, NPR News, Beijing.
Well, the U.S. and China are competing to advance artificial intelligence. The Trump administration's approach to AI has long been to prioritize innovation. But NPR's Deepa Shivaram says there are signs of a shift to AI safety.
Trump and administration officials have been starting to talk more about AI safety for the first time. This comes in part after AI company Anthropic sounded the alarm about its latest model, Mythos, due to cybersecurity concerns. That sent off a wave of concern about the potential dangers around new AI models. In interviews, administration officials have started to use words they haven't used before, like safety. That was surprising to Kyle Chan, a fellow at the Brookings Institution.
It's a dramatic reversal from just a year ago when you could hardly say the word safety in Trump circles.
But it's not yet clear if the Trump White House is planning to change anything when it comes to AI regulations. Even if they did, it would likely be small. Any actual regulations would have to come from Congress. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News.
Patients will still have access to the abortion pill mifepristone through telemedicine while a dispute over it plays out in the lower courts. Nearly 4 years after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the 1973 landmark ruling that legalized access to abortion, yesterday the conservative-dominated court decided to preserve telemedicine access to the abortion pill. Here's NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin.
They granted an emergency request from 2 drug makers to put a hold on an appeals court order that would have put new restrictions on access to mifepristone. Specifically, it would have required patients to go in person to a clinic or a doctor's office to receive the medication. So the justices have issued a stay pending appeal in the case, so telemedicine access can continue as it has been while this case plays out in the lower courts.
That's NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin reporting. You're listening to NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. ICE agents working a detail in Brookline yesterday requested assistance from the Brookline police officers during the detention of a Massachusetts man. Mass Live reports that at around 7:45 p.m., agents with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement called 911 and asked for help during the transport of a 25-year-old man. Spokesperson for Brookline Police say officers monitored the scene and maintained public safety, but did not participate in immigration enforcement or assist in the man's detention. Brookline instituted a policy back in 2017 that prohibits the police department from assisting the federal government's immigration detention efforts. A police report says Brookline police arrested the man, who was a resident of Framingham, earlier Thursday during a vehicle stop and was charged with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, failure to stop for police, possession of a forged license plate, and other offenses. He also had an outstanding warrant from Natick District Court. A judge in Orleans has been taken off the bench as he faces domestic violence charges. First Justice of the Orleans District Court, Robert Welch III, facing assault and battery, as well as assault and battery with a dangerous weapon on a senior, which is a felony. Details of the matter have not been released. The Globe reports Welch will be arraigned next week in a Brighton court. Court official says he was placed on administrative duties on Monday. Red Sox in Atlanta tonight for the start of a weekend series. First pitch 7:15. We are at 54 degrees in Boston. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include DuckDuckGo, who believes AI should be optional and private. That's why they created Duck.ai, where users can chat privately with AI. No tracking. Learn more at Duck.ai.
Welcome to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are not live at the library. Apologies, technical issues, but we are, as always, live at youtube.com/GBH News. We begin today in the world of higher ed. And for reporters on that beat, just like students and professors, May really is the storm before the calm of summer vacation. It's been an especially busy month of news this year in that space, which makes it even more remarkable that our next guest was able to find time to join us today. With us in Studio 3, GBH higher ed reporter and the guy behind the podcast College Uncovered, the one and only Kirk Carapezza. Kirk, welcome to the Curiosity Desk.
Hey, Edgar, great to be here.
Yeah, I'm not going to apologize about the recent Phillies series win over the Red Sox as a Phillies fan here, but apologies to your Red Sox.
You know, baseball players are expensive.
Yeah. Speaking of expensive, let's get into this higher ed stuff. So is the month of May usually this hectic? I mean, it's been busy.
Yeah, I've been reflecting on this. You know, it's always busy, but it's usually not this busy. I'm usually trying to run around like a chick with my head cut off at the last minute to try to get as many student voices and professors before they disappear for the summer. But this has been an extraordinary May with a lot of news and a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the stuff that's. I mean, because we're only going to be able to get into some of it. But big news yesterday. What exactly is happening at MIT? This was a big announcement coming out of there.
Yeah, the president of MIT is sounding the alarm over two major challenges facing the entire higher ed industry, but specifically research universities. MIT President Sally Kornbluth says federal research dollars just aren't flowing the way they typically do. And she put out this video message where she says, you know, research funding from private sources is just not enough to make up for the 20% drop in federal support that MIT is now dealing with. And as a result, she says university-sponsored research is down 10% compared to this time last year.
That's wild. All right, but we have a little sound from Sally Kornbluth. Let's hear that.
That is a striking loss for one of the most influential and productive research communities in the world.
And the other challenge that Kornbluth identified is that MIT saw a nearly 20% drop in new graduate student enrollment this year, and the university
20% drop in new student, and that's in enrollment. That's not in applications.
No, that's new enrollment. In fact, she pointed out that because of some of the immigration and visa policies affecting international students, applications are down. Some people aren't even applying, and MIT isn't alone here. You have major research universities expressing concern over the funding pressures, but also this enrollment crunch.
Really, really quick, without getting too far into it, when we hear somebody say research universities, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, these are institutions that get a lot of money from NIH, from the federal government, that are doing, research that's supposed to support the public good and make society better. So that's as opposed to a liberal arts college where there's no graduate program or no research. So think of MIT, Harvard, Stanford. These are the major research universities.
So, obviously we think about this area, we've got some big ticket schools, the Ivies, is it, when you're a higher ed reporter in Boston, is this what you spend 99% of your time
It's easy
doing?
to get sucked into that. I always kind of joke that Harvard's kind of like, not the Death Star, but we get sucked into the gravitational pull more often than I would like. I'm kind of in my. We joke that I'm in my stormtrooper and my little stormtrooper trying to cover community colleges, public universities where most people go. 80% of the people in this country who go to college go to public universities, and I think it's easy for us to lose sight of that here in New England, where we have so many great private colleges. But yeah, when we launched the desk, I've been thinking about this because when we launched the desk over 10 years ago, a lot of the stories that GBH would cover for higher education would have Harvard or MIT in the headlines, and they'd already be on A1 at the Globe.
Yeah.
And I see it as my job as to remind people that higher ed is much more complex and complicated than just the Ivies.
Yeah. I mean, has that been made harder by, obviously Harvard right now is it's always at the center of attention to a certain way of thinking, but it's in a very high, it has been made a very high profile target, it seems, by the administration in Washington. And so,
yeah. And we cover that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't ignore the latest tweets from President Trump and, the administration's attack on higher ed. It does factor into a lot of the reporting, but I try to spend as little time as possible on that because I think our audience knows that story already, right? And so we try to add by going out and covering schools that aren't necessarily getting covered, or reminding our audience that, most Americans who go to college go to school within 50 miles of their home, right? But so much of the national debate or national conversation around higher ed involves these very few institutions where I remember when I first started on the beat, there was a stat that stuck out for me. Only 15% of people in this country go to residential colleges.
Really?
Right. So that's
wow.
The average student now isn't an 18 to 24-year-old. It's a working adult, someone who's commuting, people, just trying to, parents, right? These are the kind of voices that we're trying to feature more and more.
Well, speaking of those voices, I mean, one of the things that you do in your reporting is you talk to a lot of students. I mean, what and the voices of the students often again get lost in the policy
right.
debate. What are you hearing from what is on students' minds?
Yeah,
right
and
now?
Going back to kind of how we approach the beat, not to get too much into how the sausage is made, but
no, but that's
so,
what we love.
So
we
much,
sausage.
Yeah, so much. I love sausage too. How much there's so much higher ed reporting that doesn't feature any students, any student voices, right? You think of a lot of the coverage around the Trump administration and its attack on the industry, you never hear from students. And when I talk to them, when I go to college campuses, they're talking about the things that you'd expect students to be talking about: getting a job, getting an internship, or getting a better job, which is the reason why most people go to college now. And when you talk to 17 to 18-year-olds, for example, I went down to Providence. I was at Brown University recently to look at how that school is trying to recruit more rural students because they're under pressure from the administration to diversify, where students come from. And I tried, when I started reporting that story, I was in a dining hall on the campus with these huge chandeliers, and there were these kids that they had flown in from Iowa and all different parts of the country. And I just thought, I'm not going to superimpose the Trump story onto this. I'm just going to sit back and be a fly on the wall and listen to what they're talking about. Guess what they were talking about?
What were they talking about?
The new Taylor Swift album had just come out.
Yeah, because they're
getting their license, right?
Yeah.
No one mentioned the Trump administration. And I think I try to avoid the best I can superimposing the near constant political chatter into every single story that we do.
You're listening to The Curiosities. We're talking with GBH's Kirk Carapezza about colleges navigating money troubles, the things he's uncovered in his podcast, College Uncovered. I want to get into a couple of recent stories. I want to talk about your reporting on St. Michael's in Vermont. This story really caught my eye, including the voices of the students from that story. Here's one of them.
So this is our fire bay. We have our 2 fire engines right here, as well as one of our fly cars, our utility cars, truck.
So this is not a classroom?
No, this is absolutely not. Well, it's not a traditional classroom, but there is definitely a lot of learning going on here. Most of the time.
What's going on the rest of the time?
Shenanigans.
That was shenanigans.
There you
Anytime
go,
you get the
makes
word
the
shenanigans
point,
into the story,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
you
the
got to.
best.
Yeah, I think there's a mandate somewhere that says if somebody says shenanigans, it stays in the story. Yeah.
Built the whole thing around that. But these, St. Mike's is an interesting example. It's one of these schools that's under a lot of financial pressure.
Yeah.
Right. They're facing the demographic cliff. There's fewer 18-year-olds because it's 18 years after the Great Recession when a lot of Americans stopped having kids. And what they're doing there at St. Mike's, which is this 120-something-year-old Catholic college, classic liberal arts college, they are betting that career-focused programs like emergency services, which is, that's who you just heard from, student Matthew Minnick. He's from Situate, Massachusetts. He's studying business, but while he was there, he volunteered at the fire and rescue unit on campus, and he realized, you know what, I want to be a firefighter. This is what I want to do with my career. And they're betting that programs like that, career-focused programs in emergency services, finances, nutrition, can help extinguish years of declining enrollment while also preserving its identity as a liberal arts institution.
Yeah.
And I don't know about your experience going to college, but I think that's the kind of thing I would have loved when I was
Absolutely,
in college.
yeah.
Hands-on training. At one point in that
100%.
story, he fires up a saw.
Yeah.
It's just that's the kind of thing where these schools are leaning into that, and it's a direct response, I think, to 2 stubborn realities, right? There's a shortage of EMTs and firefighters here in the Northeast, especially in northern New England and upstate New York. And then also there's this shortage or a shrinking pool of 18-year-olds going to college.
Are the financial pressures that we're seeing these institutions on, is it as simple as there are just fewer students, or is it more than that?
I think it's more than that. I mean, there's if you just take a look at St. Mike's, right? Enrollment's down 50% over the past decade. Revenue's down sharply. They're consolidating 20. They took 20 departments and basically moved them into 4 interdisciplinary schools. The president told me there's no English department anymore. So there's a ton of, part of it's there's fewer 18-year-olds, but then also students are voting with their feet, right? They're going into computer science or STEM or,
For now.
Yeah, for now, right? Yeah, before AI takes all those jobs. But we are seeing these pressures. So demographics is definitely the at the top of the list. But there's also, of the students who are graduating from high school, a smaller share of them are going to college. And there's also part of that's the skeptical, the skepticism about the value of a college degree that we hear about, it seems like every week now, and specifically about liberal arts colleges. But the pressure's acute in states like Vermont, right, where that state has traditionally had one of the lowest birth rates in the nation. But I do think it's this perfect storm of fewer 18-year-olds, skepticism about a degree. Our take on that on the podcast and in our coverage is all of the research shows college is worth it, right? If you're able to graduate on time with less debt, you earn more, you're happier, right? But the problem is for the industry is that few people graduate within 6 years even. I mean, the national graduation rate now is stuck at 50%. The 6-year graduation rate is 50% graduate.
Wow.
And so that, I think, leads to public trust issues in higher ed. And you have schools saying things like we just did a podcast episode, not to be that guy who's always like, listen to my podcast, but listen to my podcast.
Partly why I'm here, Kirk.
But we just did an episode about underemployment. And yet schools all the time say, 98% of our students are in graduate school or employed. It's always 98% because, but then if you look at the fine print, it's of the people who responded to our alumni survey. How often do you reply to those alumni surveys?
Never.
Yeah, right?
Never.
And then you have economists saying, or like the Burning Glass Institute just put out a report that said 50% of recent college graduates are underemployed. So I think there's this, colleges are saying one thing, students and families are feeling something, economists are saying something else, and it just contributes to a lot of distrust or resentment.
Yeah. Well, another mid-sized school struggling. Obviously, Hampshire. That is a huge.
This is a really uplifting segment.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, right.
This is
All
the this is the Empire Strikes Back in the middle, and then we'll have we'll get there.
That's
at the
good.
End.
I'll sustain my stormtrooper.
Yeah, we're staying on the Star Wars thing. Well, no, I mean when you talk about Mount Rushmore for public broadcasters, Ken Burns is obviously on that, and Hampshire. He's a graduate famously of Hampshire College.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a little bit of Ken Burns talking about what's going on with Hampshire College.
There's a great sadness. I do not recognize the person who entered in September of 71 and the person who came out in the spring of 75. It just rearranged all my molecules. And the Hampshire model of experimentation is so profound. And it was just as exhilarating an experience as I've had in my life.
Yeah, and Burns, I mean, that news, I think, was the fact that Hampshire's closing down later this year, the news was a shock to people outside of the industry who weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
I think for those of us who are on the beat, paying attention, we were, to be honest, I was surprised that it hung on for so long.
Yeah.
Right? It's been in financial and enrollment trouble for a long time. In the end, the numbers just didn't add up, despite a major fundraising campaign led by Burns himself. It just couldn't hang on. And if you look at the endowment, I think it was around 90 million or less. Just by comparison, Amherst College nearby has a $4 or $5 billion endowment. So it kind of captures the haves and the have-nots of the industry right now. But one source for that story, when we covered Hampshire's closing, he told me the offbeat profile that Hampshire offered just wasn't selling with enough students, right? No majors, no grades, no fixed curriculum. In many ways, it's kind of became a victim of imitation, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people took what Hampshire was doing well, interdisciplinary learning.
Yeah.
Like you look at what St. Mike's is doing.
Yep.
They're kind of modeling what Hampshire did. So while it had a unique value proposition, a lot of people in the industry said the issue was the market was saying that value proposition was not valued anymore. And it really that story for me shows how American higher ed has just become so transactional as the cost just kept climbing.
Yeah.
So much of this is just about tuition in exchange for jobs.
Yeah.
Right. And for better or worse, higher ed isn't just about learning anymore. It's about signaling skills and value. And Hampshire opted out of that game a long time ago from its founding in 1970, right? They said, we're going to reject rigid disciplines in favor of big questions, right? The kind of thing you do here, right? Which is great, there's a real hunger for that.
Sure.
And the world needs more Hampshire graduates and more Ken Burnses, and it's a real loss. When any of these schools close, it's my least favorite story to cover because it's just sad for everybody.
Is it inherently? I mean, obviously on a personal level, when you don't want people to lose jobs, you don't want to have less options out there for humans. But if we're looking at it, if we're looking at a world where there are fewer potential students, where, as you point out, you have an overall success rate when it comes to graduation of people who are entering college being around 50%. I mean, is the closure or contraction of the amount of options out there, is that necessarily always a bad thing?
Yeah, I mean,
is it?
It's some people will say it's basic economics,
Yeah.
right? It's too many colleges for too few students.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that, but in many of these places, not necessarily with Hampshire because there are other schools out there in Amherst, but I've covered college closures like in Putney, Vermont, when the Green Mountain College closed.
Yeah.
Like we did a story, the headline was, what happens to the college town when the college closes?
Yeah.
Like it's really devastating. But yeah, you talk to some higher ed analysts and they're predicting now over the next 10 years, a quarter of these schools could close. A quarter of 4-year private nonprofit colleges. I don't know about that. I'm not an economist. I do worry that these institutions could fall victim to, having their fear become their shadow, and we have a self-fulfilling prophecy where if people think these schools are going to close, they won't send their kids there anymore. When Mount Ida closed in Newton in 2018 or 2019, and it was a sudden, abrupt closure, parents started calling my desk saying, I'm thinking about sending my kid to the school. Do you think it's still going to be open?
Wow.
And I mean, we did a whole episode just on that, which the question was, how do you know if your school's still going to be open in 4 years?
Yeah. Really quick, before I let you go, let's look ahead to your next episode, which is going to be around another big story this week in higher ed, and that is grade inflation at Harvard. Let's get a little sound here of Steve Levitsky, a government professor at Harvard, talking about the pressure to dole out those A's.
I can give it A minus and almost inevitably face a bitching, whining, complaining, entitled student in my office, or I can give an A and not have to bother, and I can get back to my work.
In Professor Levitsky's defense, I caught him at the end of the day. It was a long day. He was tired. He was very tired. But he hopes this new policy that would cap the number of A's per course at 20% plus 4. So if you have a class of 20, 4 of the students could get an A, and then 4 more, so 8 out of 20 could get an A. He hopes that this would push back against this culture where more and more students expect the top grade. Now, Harvard and other Ivies, it's no secret, are known for handing out a lot of A's.
Mm-hmm.
And so is this a problem? Depends who you ask. Levitsky and other professors think so. They want to restore the idea that an A represents, quote, extraordinary distinction by capping the number of A's. And many of the high-achieving students over there that we're talking to, they're not happy about it.
Yeah.
And neither are some of the other professors. They hate the new policy. They say it breaks down in classes where more than 20% of their students are doing exceptional work. But I don't know. It's you ever take a course just because you thought you were going to get an easy A?
Not really.
No?
I wasn't that worried about my transcript.
See, I had
you know?
a Jesuit professor. His name was Father Kisnowski.
Yeah.
And his nickname was Easy A, Father K. Everyone took his class because they thought they were going to get an A. But he made you work for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we have a whole podcast episode coming out on that. Actually, we feature an economist on that. The students hate it because they worry about after they graduate whether it's going to hurt their prospects in the labor market,
Absolutely.
in grad
Or
school
getting into
admissions.
grad school, yeah.
But there's research, actually. We talked to an economist at the University of Tennessee, Austin, and he found if you have great, quote unquote, grade inflating teachers, it can affect your earnings over
wow.
time. And you might earn less.
All right, well, check out the podcast, College Uncovered, the newest episode dropping later this month. That is GBH Higher Ed reporter Kirk Carapezza. Kirk,
Edgar,
thanks for
great to
being
be
with
here.
us.
Congrats on the show.
Thank you. Coming up next, from College Uncovered to Worlds Uncovered, 10,000 of them, potentially. NASA's first ever exoplanet ambassador is here to break down what we know and really what we don't know about this big discovery. It's the Curiosity Desk. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Jared Bowen. Tune into The Culture Show for daily discourse on the arts and culture scene, and join us for what is a continuous conversation about the state of the arts with the most interesting thinkers, innovators, and creators in the region and beyond. From the poets to the painters to the power brokers who hold the purse strings. It's all here on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Cambridge School of Culinary Arts in Porter Square, offering teen and adult recreational cooking and baking workshops, series, and cooking couples classes for culinary enthusiasts. CambridgeCulinary.com.
And Atlantic Design Center by Eldridge Lumber and Hardware, committed to helping customers achieve their vision for a new kitchen or bathroom and guiding them from design to completion, with showrooms in York and Portland, Maine. AtlanticDesignCTR.com.
You are listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are not live at the library. Sorry, technical issues there, but we are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Here's a headline you might have missed. By applying machine learning to data acquired from one of NASA's fancy satellites, we recently learned of an additional 10,000 exoplanet candidates out in the universe. Talk about a crowded primary. Well, now that's especially notable since up until now, we'd only identified a grand total of 6,000 exoplanets. So what, if anything, does this all mean? Here, too, I hope tell us that it is, in fact, as exciting as it sounds, and that all you Star Trek aficionados out there are one step closer to living your dreams, is Anjali Tripathi. Anjali's an astrophysicist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and NASA's first exoplanet science ambassador. Anjali, it's great to see you in person.
It's great to be here, Edgar.
Welcome
Thanks so
back
much
to
for
the
having me.
Curiosity Desk. Yeah. All right, exoplanets. Let's go.
All right, so Edgar, I know you and I have one thing in common, which is we have both lost on Jeopardy.
This is thank
Sorry to
you
start from.
Thank you for uncovering that fact. That's great.
We're going to turn over a new leaf. So the first time I lost, it was about America declaring independence, and so I thought today we'll just frame our whole discussion about exoplanets around Jeopardy, and why don't we start with declaring independence for America again? You ready for this?
Okay, I am ready for this, but before we get there, actually, our crack team of reporters, after our segment yesterday on the Internet Archive and the Wayback Machine, dipped into the Wayback Machine, was able to uncover some footage of your appearance on Jeopardy as, I believe, an 11-year-old some years back. Let's hear a little of that.
This young lady likes math and science, and in fact, you're in an advanced math program. Now, when we're talking about advanced for an 11-year-old, what does that mean?
That means like 11th grade math?
11th grade math?
Yes.
That means geometry and maybe trigonometry?
Yes, sir.
You really make me feel inadequate.
Sorry about that.
Wow, you got the better of Alex Trebek there, I would say.
I'm not sure anybody gets the better of him in the end, but like I said,
God
I
rest
ended
his
up
soul.
losing that day, so
It's okay. I feel your pain.
Winning at heart.
All right, let's do your Jeopardy thing then.
All right,
What do you got?
It's our Jeopardy thing.
Our
So
Jeopardy thing. That's what I meant.
if Holst were writing the planets when the U.S. declared independence in 1776, his suite would have only had this number of planets because that's all that were known about beyond Earth.
Okay, so the core of the question here you are asking me is in 1776, how many planets had we identified? All right, I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna think about this is. I don't know when the telescope was invented, but I'm gonna guess near or after this. So we're talking maybe Mercury we would have known about, Mars we would have known about, Venus we would have known about, Saturn we would have known about. Is Jupiter big? I'm gonna say 4 or 5. I'm gonna say 5.
This is Jeopardy.
What is 5? Oh, is that right?
That is right.
Heyo.
So at the time that we were declaring independence, we only knew about all of the planets that had been known about since antiquity, the ones that you can see with the naked eye.
Yeah, yeah.
So it wasn't until later, the next ones getting discovered were Uranus and then Neptune. And along the way, they discovered all of these other planets that turned out to not be planets. So, you or I might get upset about Pluto being demoted, but there were actually planets like Ceres that were planets for a little while before they were then demoted to like dwarf planet and asteroid status.
Oh, really?
And some
We've demoted other planets
we have
before
demoted
Pluto?
other planets before Pluto.
Wow.
Pluto is not alone. And there's even one called Vulcan, right? That
Tell us about Vulcan.
Vulcan, we thought there was a planet there in the same way that when we looked for Neptune and Uranus, we saw something moving funny and we thought, oh, that must be the unseen planet. But Vulcan, it turned out, was the result of Mercury's behavior due to the sun. And so when Einstein's theory of relativity came out, it explained that's why Mercury was behaving oddly. So there is actually no real planet Vulcan outside of TV.
Ah, that's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, but we've got, as you mentioned, like 6,287 other planets that we found beyond the solar system to date. So I think there's plenty to console ourselves with.
Yeah. So let's talk about exoplanets. Just make sure people understand what we're saying when we say exoplanets. I mean, my understanding, you can tell me if I'm right or not, right? My understanding is essentially we have the sun, and we've got our 8 planets that are going around the sun, and every other star that we see out there is a potential sun, right? And so an exoplanet is any other potential, is a planet that is going around a sun that is not our sun. Is that kind of it?
That's right. So exoplanet is short for extrasolar planet. So these are planets around stars that could be like our sun. They could be around dead stars. They're planets that are outside the solar system. So Pluto is not an exoplanet. It's an explanet, depending on who you ask. It's a dwarf
Right.
planet.
Do you have feelings about the? I mean, some people have emotional feelings about the demotion of Pluto. Do you have any feelings about it?
I run an MIT mystery hunt team called I'm Not a Planet Either, so I think you can ascertain how I feel about Pluto.
Okay.
Lots of love for our friend.
Okay. All right, you got what do you have? Do you have more?
Would you like another one?
Do we move on to another?
Sure,
Jeopardy
we can do
question now?
that.
All
All
right,
right.
let's do that.
So Goldilocks, right? And
Yes.
by the way, there is a To the Exoplanets category that pops up on Jeopardy sometimes. So you can think of this as all in the To the Exoplanets
Okay,
category.
to the exoplanet. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So Goldilocks
Yes.
loves the habitable zone around a star because it's not too hot and not too cold for this substance to exist on a planet's surface.
Okay, so the habitable zone. I think I got this one because the habitable zone means that it's not too hot or too cold for there to be liquid water would be my guess because that's yay. So what is liquid water? There it is. Dinga dinga. I'm 2 for 2.
You were 2 for 2.
Hey, all right.
Total redemption here, Edgar.
All right, so let's talk about have we found any? What have we found? Let's start there. What have we found?
Okay, so like I said, we've discovered over 6,000 exoplanets in our lifetime.
And these are
right?
confirmed. This is like
These are
we know
confirmed.
they exist.
So these are planets that have been observed in at least 2 different ways, right? So you either see the light of a star dimming every so often, sort of like when you see an eclipse, like the sun gets dark for us because the moon blocks it. In this case, it's the star is at just the right orientation that part of the light goes away because the planet is coming around it.
This is the transit method?
That's the one.
Yes,
yeah,
I've
so
read-
that's how
yeah,
the Kepler spacecraft, the TESS spacecraft, which you mentioned at the top of the show, that's how it's found thousands of exoplanets. Like 75% of all exoplanets have been discovered with this. And it means that you're only discovering them if they have just the right geometry and they come around fast enough that you can actually see it happen.
And I mean, we got to be. I mean, I got to imagine. I mean, the sensitivity of these instruments that we're looking at has to be like incredible. That you're able to pick up the dimming of light of a planet going, across a star, however far away it is. Right? I mean, like that's nutty.
I mean, when the first exoplanet transit was discovered in 1999, actually by Dave Charbonneau and others here in Boston, they were looking for less than a 2% dip, right, in the amount of light. And now we're seeing way smaller fractions. So, of course, you're finding these planets that are really big because they have bigger dips. But to find something that's small and kind of like Earth is really hard, and we want to find it in the sweet spot habitable zone because, of course, we know that life here on Earth thrives on water. And so if we want to look for life elsewhere in the universe, it really helps to have thousands of planets that we found to go looking for it, but we want to look for signs of water. And so this is something that we're looking in the atmosphere and other ways. But, of course, if water is all ice or steam, it's a little harder for us to metabolize.
Right. So you said that so there's this transit method is one way we're identifying. What's the other way we're identifying these planets?
So the original way that we found planets, one of them was actually looking at how the starlight moves when something is going around it. So like if I told you to get on a hula hoop, right, and start having that go around you, you would move your hips a little bit because that hula hoop is going around you. So you can think of the hula hoop as being like a planet's orbit around the star, because you're the star, Edgar, as we know.
Hey, thank you.
And so if you look for that motion of sort of the star's hips, that starlight moving back and forth, that wobble is giving us a Doppler shift that we can measure. And so we say that this radial velocity method is what was giving us lots of planets early on. So together, those give us about 90% of how we found all of the planets.
What's the other 10%?
Well, we've got a couple of
Dumb
different
luck.
methods. Well, actually, would you like another quiz question to get us there?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So from mountaintops in Hawaii to 1 million miles away, astronomers have taken photographs of this many planets beyond the solar system.
Wait, ask it one more time?
Yeah, from mountaintops in Hawaii to 1 million miles away, astronomers have taken photographs of this many planets beyond the solar system.
I've taken photographs of this many planets.
Right, because I've told you we found, over 6,000 planets, but the 2 methods I just told you about, we're just looking at starlight moving. You don't actually see the planet necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like this is something of a trick question because it's like they're theoretically in the photo, even though we don't know they're in the photo, right?
Okay, so I'm going to say you got to actually see signs of it. This is not a trick question.
What is 20,000?
More planets than we've discovered? Got to be less than 6,000 at least.
Oh, right. Good point. What is 15?
No, that is incorrect. I'm sorry.
Brutal.
It is 101.
101?
And of those 101, 97 of them were discovered by taking pictures. We call this direct imaging because you're taking a photograph the old-fashioned way. 4 of them were discovered with some other method, and we were able to get pictures of it later. But this is really hard, as you might be able to tell.
Yeah. And is it sheer luck, or is it somebody's going like, I think there might be an exoplanet here. Let me snap a picture.
It depends in different ways, right?
Yeah.
So there's some where they're actually going out and looking for it, right? So entire instruments on telescopes on the ground. But we also are really excited because we have spacecraft that have special instruments called coronagraphs that can actually block out the light of a star so you can look for a planet nearby. Because, of course, this is like looking for a firefly next to a lighthouse if you just want to see something like Jupiter because, planets only reflect light here in the solar system. They don't shine on their own, or at least not very much.
Right. Gotcha. All right. You're listening to The Curiosities. We're talking with NASA astrophysicist Anjali Tripathi about worlds beyond our world. So what happened with this? What is this new 6,000 potential candidates situation? What happened here?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we have 6,000 plus planets that we've discovered to date. We've confirmed in 2 ways, but the TESS spacecraft has found about 8,000 planet candidates since it launched in 2018. Of those, only 760 have been confirmed. But that means that when you're looking for this, they're looking for the brightness of light changing over time. And so they were using methods that only looked for stars up to a certain brightness. With this result that came out recently about the T16 project, they're going down to the 16th magnitude, so much dimmer stars, because a higher magnitude number means it's a dimmer star. And so basically now they're looking at even more stars. I think they looked at something like 83 million curves of light for for different, over time how it was changing. And so of those, they found over 10,000 planet candidates. And so this is really exciting because we probably won't be able to look at all 10,000 of them and say, yes, all of those have planets. A lot of these will turn out to be other things, may not get followed up. They did have one candidate already confirmed, but it shows us that we have new ways of going back to old data using, our friends in AI to help us find what else is hiding in the data. Because again, we've existed for millennia without noticing that there were all these planets out there because we didn't have the technology.
Yeah.
So this is just another leap forward, and it's something we're pushing forward at all the time.
And I mean, I also find it remarkable that not only are we able to sort of work out that they're there, but in a lot of these cases, as you say, we can identify this is likely in the habitable zone. This is likely what the atmosphere is like. This is likely what the density is like, and therefore it probably looks something like this. Like we're able to some extent, make really educated guesses about not only that there are these planets there, but what they look like, right, to a certain extent.
Exactly. So one of the things that we're working on, so I will say from the NASA side, we're really excited that we have a spacecraft launching probably later this year, maybe as early as September or so, called the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, that is going to do all kinds of amazing astronomy, but it will also have this chronograph instrument on it to be able to look for light that's 10 million times fainter than the star. So you can look for planets and take pictures that way. It's going to discover tens of thousands of exoplanets. But then the next spacecraft after that we're really excited about is called the Habitable Worlds Observatory.
Whoa.
That hopes to take a picture of a planet like Earth. So kind of like that pale blue dot you might have heard with Carl Sagan and the Voyager spacecraft decades ago. We want to take that picture because right now we're using the James Webb Space Telescope and others to look in the atmospheres of planets and even start to get a sense of, a planet recently discovered kind of has a surface like Mercury. So starting to get there that hopefully one day we'll get to oceans and continents.
What happens? I mean, honestly, what happens if we do, everything comes together and we essentially go we are pretty sure that this star way over there has this planet that looks exactly like Earth, essentially. If we find another Earth, then what do we do? Just, can we do anything else, or we just go there's another Earth out there? Cool.
I mean, I think here on the Curiosity Desk, we know that there is no shortage of questions to ask. So I think there's always more to explore.
All right. We're going to leave it there. We've been speaking with Anjali Tripathi, an astrophysicist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and NASA's first exoplanet science ambassador, who also failed to mention you did lose on Jeopardy like I did, but you redeemed yourself and later won on Jeopardy, correct?
You win some, you lose some.
There you go. All right, Anjali, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Edgar.
Okay, don't go anywhere. Up next, All Things Considered host Arun Rath turns the Curiosity Desk into the Mystery Desk, not unlike magically transforming our Curiosity Desk from whatever Jim and Marjorie broadcast from. Anyways, Arun has a magic trick up his sleeve, and all you need is some dimes and pennies to follow along and do it at home. So go grab some change. We will be right back.
Learn something new.
I want to start with how crowds of people can act like fluids.
Yes.
What?
I mean, this is physics, so I love it.
Make a connection.
I have no idea who they voted for. I don't care. This tailgate in particular, everybody's welcome.
Dig a bit deeper.
We're often looking for a small secular liturgy for our lives, and poetry can provide that sometimes.
Stay curious with All Things Considered from NPR News.
This afternoon at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you. And Boston Ballet, presenting Spring Experience, a dynamic journey through movement, music, and emotions, including Jerome Robbins' celebrated Dances at a Gathering, now through May 17th at Citizens Opera House. Tickets at bostonballet.org. And MIT Sloan Executive Education, offering short courses on critical topics led by world-class faculty.
Professionals can get up to speed on AI, innovation, cybersecurity, and operational strategy. More at executive.mit.edu.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. No library today. Apologies, technical issues, but we hope to be back there next week. As always, we continue streaming live on youtube.com/GBH News. Okay, it is now time to talk about the surprising connection between mentalism, magic, and math. And of course, we are talking about magic. We have a little trick up our sleeves for you. So I want you to go through your change drawer and grab a few pennies and dimes. We'll wait. Okay, do you have them? Okay, we'll wait. All right, now give them a little toss in the air and move them from your left to your right. Arun, that's how it all starts, right?
Sure, yeah. Always start with a shuffle.
That is not how it starts. We're going to get to the trick in a little bit with the one and only Arun Rath. Today we are joined again by All Things Considered host and magician Arun Rath. Arun, thank you for joining us today for a special edition of the Curiosity Desk, or should I say...
The Mystery Desk. I love that. Nothing like a good radio mystery, right?
Oh, that's even more mysterious. All right, we're talking magic today, but also math and money and mentalism. How are these things all connected?
Well, maybe let's start off with the mentalism part, because that connects to the radio. We were talked a little bit the last time about the history of magic on the radio, and there's certain types of magic that work on the radio and some that don't. Obviously, visual magic, which is what most people think of, doesn't tend to work because you can't see the thing.
Yeah.
Mentalism, where you're reading someone's mind, that works great. And the biggest act, one of the biggest acts in the early days of radio was Joseph Dunninger. And his radio show was mentalism. It was mind reading, and it was huge. This was in the 30s and 40s. It was really big during World War II. Interestingly, though, and this kind of like scans with what we're talking about, in the 50s, when TV came along and Dunninger went to TV, his radio show was his TV show was pretty much magic. It was magic and mentalism mixed together.
All right, we're gonna unpack a little bit of that in a second, but we have some sound from Dunninger on the radio, so maybe we get a little bit of a sense. So it begins with him being announced. We get a feel for how the show worked.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman who, with his unique skill as his only weapon, invades your mind and reads your thoughts, Dunninger.
It's so cool, old time radio there.
I love that stuff, and you know what I love about hearing this is that it sounds classic to us, right? But at the time, they're creating this form.
Yeah.
Like nobody had ever done this before.
Totally. All right, let's get a little more so we get a sense of what Dunninger actually did. So here, I think he's going around the audience trying to guess numbers that people are thinking of, and he sort of speaks to this woman, and this is a little of his quote-unquote classic mentalism.
Now who is concentrating his or her mind upon the digits 3716. It's an address, part of an address. 3716, the lady about the 12th row. Is that yours?
That is.
That is correct, madam?
That is.
Is that your own address?
That's my number.
Your own number?
And the street number was also there.
You want me to give you that?
Please.
You'd like that. Perfect. Will you think of it very hard?
Yes.
Perfect. I'll try to do that. Would that be 80th Street?
It is.
It is. Thank you.
Wild. Okay, how did he do this? How did this work? What is mentalism?
Well, it's an interesting question because what is mentalism distinct from magic, right? Because they seem to go together. Mentalism is specifically mind reading or allied things, psychic tricks, things like that. And there's actually, you'll find this interesting, there is an ongoing, never finished debate among mentalists and magicians whether mentalism is a separate thing. There are a category of mentalist performers who are like, no, we are not magicians. We are this own separate thing. And even though they use magicians' techniques to do the same thing.
Is it so? A magician, even though we use the word magic, is not doing magic. They're doing an illusion, right?
Right.
So you hear mental. They're not actually reading people's minds. So what is the principle of how it works, or Or are they? You're looking at me. Or are they reading people's minds? Is it?
There is, Edgar. I have to be careful about how I talk about magic, so I don't break rules. So I'll talk around this.
Great, talk
because
around it.
When I'm reading your mind, obviously I'm not reading your mind, and this is funny because there's also another debate with both magicians and mentalists of whether or not they have disclaimers with their audience, whether or not they say, I'm really reading your mind, or if this is just a trick.
I got it.
But it's a trick because there's no real mind reading, at least that we've documented. And so when I'm reading what's in your mind, I am either figuring it out some way surreptitiously, or I am getting that thought to you and making sure that I know what that thought is going to be before you've even thought it. So those are the two basic ways you accomplish mentalism. If I talk in any more detail about that, it gets a little bit, I'll get in trouble.
Gets a little hairy. Where does math come in to all of this?
Interestingly, a lot of mentalism does involve math directly. A lot of magic involves mathematical techniques. And there's a whole branch of what's called mathematical magic, which involves doing math with your audience. It's not as popular as it used to be because math is not as popular as it used to be. And so things like that get sort of procedural and long and involve a lot of like people adding things up. They tend to like try people's patience. But there's also techniques behind the tricks. There are a shocking number of card tricks, Edgar, that involve mathematical principles that are so well hidden. Things like, again, I'll talk broadly here, but the ways in which what can seem like a shuffled deck, what can seem like randomness is actually not randomness. There are ways that you can find order and randomness involving mathematical principles. And actually, I'll recommend, there's this great book, I'll hold it up, Magical Mathematics. It's by Percy Diaconsis, who I think might have been at MIT. And it's a book all about all of this, including things like, if you want to look up the Gilbreth principle, one of the weirdest, wonderful things that lets people do what seems like magic.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense because there are just like those fun tricks you can do with numbers that you don't necessarily think of like a magic trick, but you do go, it seems magical, right? Like the like add this, subtract this, do this, and you always come out with the same number, or like the stuff that you can do with the number 9 because of the principles of mathematics, right? And it does seem magical. So the idea that you can draw on, or like over time, people have said, oh, we can draw on this and then apply this in a way that allows us to produce an illusion that is very magical for the audience. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah. No, and in a way, I mean, I talk about being careful about describing how it's done. A lot of these, I could describe probably more, and it doesn't take away from the magic a lot of the times. We're like, wow, that makes it even more impressive.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're doing this stuff in your mind to actually figure this stuff out.
So, I mean, we describe you as not just a host of ATC here at this, at GBH, but also a magician. Are you also a mentalist? Do you practice mentalism as part of your magic?
I have, like one of my first big stage piece was a mentalism routine, was a mind reading routine. Yeah.
Wow. Word is you got a trick for us. I think we ought to do this trick, right?
I do indeed. Yeah.
So what let's so folks, if you're at home, get ready for this. You can participate. What do they need? They need pennies and
dimes.
We're going to bring in
pennies and dimes.
We're bringing in some GBHers into the studio here.
I'm trying to do this trick as much as possible
NASA's
now.
exoplanet ambassador Anjali Tripathi with us as well. All right, we got a full studio here, folks.
We do.
And we got a bag of.
We have a scientist who's probably going to know right away exactly how this is done.
She's like, yeah. All right. So what do folks need, Arun?
Just pennies and dimes. It can be any number, at least one penny and one dime. A few more is good because it's not as impressive if you just have one penny.
All right, pennies and dimes.
I'm
passing the bag around here. Folks at home, grab your pennies and dimes.
Don't take too many unless you really enjoy counting.
Okay, so penny
and a couple to the side.
So I've got a dime and a couple of pennies.
And
that sounds
also,
about right.
maybe if you have a really hard time holding numbers in your head, maybe you want to be able to write something down, but it shouldn't be that.
Okay.
hard.
All right, folks, here we go.
So
Arun Rath.
this is the math in this is wonderfully basic because we're using dimes and pennies, ones and tens, the most basic elements of math. So get some pennies and dimes, whatever combination you want, because that makes it more interesting. Everybody's doing something different, and make sure you have at least one penny and one dime. And okay, you got your handful of pennies and dimes.
All right, we got them.
Now's the math portion. I promise it's simple. First, total up the money value of the what's in your hands in terms of cents. So like if say like you have 5 dimes and 6 pennies, you have 56 cents, or you might have 125 cents if you got a whole lot of stuff. Okay, that's your first number.
All right, and just hold that in your mind.
Hold that in your mind.
Okay.
Now total up the number of coins in your hand, ignoring their monetary value.
Okay.
Just the number of dimes and pennies, doesn't matter how many of which, and that's your second number.
Got it.
Now subtract that second number from the first number.
Got it.
For your new number. Do you have your new number?
I have it in my, everybody here, folks?
Yep. Great.
Got it.
GBHers,
now,
all right.
It may be a one-digit number. It might be more than a one-digit number. If it is more than a one-digit number, we need to reduce it. So the way that we reduce it is, say if it's a 3-digit number, like 427, then you reduce it by doing 4 plus 2 plus 7, and then you get 13. And then you reduce that by doing 1 plus 3.
Got it.
And you get to 4.
Okay.
So reduce your digits until you get to, do you have your single digit number?
I think I do. Yeah.
Okay. Now concentrate on that number really strong. Everybody in the audience too, everyone in the room here. And I'll get, what'll be probably the main number. It might not be everybody's number, but is it 9?
Good God.
Wait.
I got 9.
We got a 9.
Got a 9.
We got a 9.
Anjali got a 9.
Anjali 9.
I got a 9.
You got a 9 and I got a 9.
That is
wow.
5 for 5.
And in the control room, they're doing it as well. We've
Thumbs
got
up.
reports.
John
They've
Parker
all
has
got
9.
9s in the control room as well. Incredible. That's awesome.
Incredible, Arun Rath. That was sweet.
Right.
Bravo.
Thank you.
How did you get into this, Arun?
I was into magic, did it as a young man, stopped when I was around 20, and then when I was a little older, my son demanded for his 5th birthday party, the way the toddlers can do, that I put on a magic show. Not that I get him a magician, that I do the show. And so as an adult, I got back into it, went to a magic store in Las Vegas, started hanging out with magicians. And then it went from doing a show for my son.
Slippery slope.
And then, no, it is.
Hanging out with
it's like it's a gateway. Yeah.
I stopped hanging out with my family. I was spending all my time.
Pretty soon, it's all like money on props and cups and balls and.
But in all seriousness, how much time and effort does it take to sort of? I mean, obviously, it depends. But is it like learning an instrument? Is it like? I mean, how much time do you put in to be able to confidently do tricks?
I think music's a pretty good analogy because you do have to put the time into practice, and that was really like the next thing. I think we talked about this. The thing that bumped my magic up to the next level was during the pandemic. Yeah. That's when I got I had more time inside to practice and read, and you don't get good unless you practice. And also having a good teacher helps.
Where do you find a teacher? I mean, how does that work? Is it just like it's kind of like any of those things? You kind of get into the world, you make relationships. Somebody, when the student arrives, the teacher appears, kind of thing. Or?
I found my teacher through my reporting. Because
really?
when I started to do magic, and there were interesting magic stories, one of which was about intellectual property in magic. Magicians have their tricks stolen. And so I did this story, and Jeff McBride is the name of this magician. He's one of the greatest magicians in the world.
Really?
And and so I did this great story and kept a relationship with him and a friendship. And then when I started to get more serious, I'm like, can I take lessons? And actually, he offered to give me lessons. And it seems crazy. Like every lesson, I feel like I should not be allowed to take lessons with Jeff McBride. But
what do you do at a lesson? Like, is it like you go somewhere, you go to his house and like say like I'm here for the lesson, and then you guys sit down and
usually
work
do
on
them over Zoom unless I'm actually in Las Vegas.
Got it.
But we work through. I'll come in with like, this is a new routine that I'm working on, or even this is a vague area of something that I want to do. And Jeff is like an encyclopedia, and he will actually know, here's a way how you do that routine, or here is, let's invent a way. It's amazing.
That's really cool stuff. All right, well, that is the one and only Arun Rath of All Things Considered and the man behind the Mystery Desk. If you enjoyed that segment, don't worry, he will be back with us next month. If you did not enjoy that segment, don't worry, he will be back with us next month. And that just about does it for us. For now, the Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Lawson, Nicole Garcia, Jamie Bologna, and Patty Daniels are our show's resident mentalists. Our engineer today is John the Claw Parker. Special thanks too to Andrew Massawa and Patrick Lally and the folks from GBH, as well as NASA's exoplanet ambassador for helping us out with some magic here. Apologies again for the technical mishaps. We really do hope to be back at the library next week. We will be right back here Monday on GBH 89.7 and streaming on YouTube. If you can't wait that long, check out the podcast version of our show. You can get that just about anywhere. Until next time, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
Now, ladies and gentlemen,
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you. And Native Plant Trust. More than 125 years of commitment to protecting New England's native plants. More information about how natives can support the web of life at nativeplanttrust.org. And Boston Theater Company, presenting Road of Rainbows, a joyful Pride 5K run or walk during Pride weekend on June 6th on the Boston Common, with costumes, community, and celebration. bostontheater.org.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Culture Show News Desk, I'm Henry Santoro. The search for the next James Bond is underway, so say executives at Amazon MGM Studios. Auditions have been taking place in the most recent weeks, and it signals the beginning of the end of the long wait for a new James Bond. It's been 5 years since the release of No Time to Die, which was Daniel Craig's final film as Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond. Dry martini.
Oui, monsieur.
Wait. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lily, shake it over ice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
Yes, sir.
And it's been 15 months since Amazon MGM Studios took control of the Bond franchise. As for frontrunners, better say it's 36-year-old Callum Turner, who's been in the Fantastic Beasts series. He's also engaged to pop star Dua Lipa, who could very well perform a theme song or two to the Bond franchise. The art world this week is mourning the death of legendary Swiss art historian, collector, and dealer Bruno Bischofberger. He's credited with championing the neo-expressionist movement while at the same time bringing American artists to European audiences. In 1965, Bischofberger featured the art of Andy Warhol in his pop art exhibition, which started a long and immensely successful relationship where Warhol offered him first rights to every work he made from 1968 until his death in 1987. Bischofberger also went on to create an equally successful business relationship with the late, great Jean-Michel Basquiat. Bruno Bischofberger was 86 years old. And it was just about 40 years ago this month when I met and became friends with Andy Warhol. At the time, I was working at Boston's alternative rock station, WFNX, and convinced Andy to do something he'd never done before. And that was an endorsement for a radio station and my Henry and the Hub radio segment that is still on the air today. Here's Andy.
This is Andy Warhol, and when I'm in Boston, I listen to Henry and the Hub. Happy Christmas, WFNX.
That's this edition of the GBH News Weekly Friday Afternoon Culture Cast. I'm Henry Santoro. Next up, Jeremy Siegel.
I'm Jeremy Siegel in for Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show,
For the World Cup Finals' first halftime show, FIFA is not easing in. It's calling up Latin pop, pop royalty, and K-pop's most devoted fandom, with Shakira, Madonna, and BTS set for MetLife Stadium. The final already draws hundreds of millions of viewers. With this triple pop power play, did FIFA just move the goalposts for halftime? If FIFA is adding star power, Cannes is testing what happens when it has less of it. This year's festival has fewer Hollywood names, more director-driven films, and a new Oscar rule that could give the Palme d'Or an even bigger role in the Academy Awards. And Eurovision is no stranger to discord, but the fight over Israel's participation has been building for years. Now, the pressure is rising again, testing a content built on camp, choreography, and the promise that for one night, Europe can sing in harmony. From there, we look at commencement season in Boston, where Conan O'Brien, Hilary Duff, and Henry Winkler are among the heavy hitters taking the stage with advice, applause, and honorary degrees. Finally, at two Little Caesars, the pizza chain is delivering pizza by drone, a small airborne experiment with bigger questions about speed, convenience, and whether the future of takeout is in the skies. Right now on our Week in Review.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Welcome to The Culture Show on 89.7 GBH and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm Jeremy Siegel, global correspondent and news host at GBH, in for Jared Bowen.
I'm Joyce Kulhawick, in for me.
And I'm Lisa Simmons.
And today we are all going over the week's top arts and culture headlines, starting Waka Waka, this time for Africa. Now it is this time for America. Shakira is returning to the World Cup arena along with Madonna and BTS for the soccer tournament's first ever halftime show. It's set for July 19th at MetLife Stadium, temporarily renamed New York Stadium in New Jersey. Both of you, I was looking into this, and unfortunately, we are going to get no halftime shows for the games being played here in Boston. A bummer for each of you, or do you think?
I was going to say, is that unfortunate?
I don't even know how we're going to manage the World Cup here. I mean, I'm already, wondering what the heck is going to happen.
Well, a lot of people are going to be trying to get there, and the T and bus services are charging a big chunk of change to get to it.
I'm thinking infrastructure mayhem.
Yeah. We'll see. We've got T-minus just over a month until that happens. So This is the first ever World Cup halftime show. There are actually some fans, huge soccer fans, who are a little bit freaked out about this because it's, not traditional in soccer matches to have anything like this. They're taking a cue from the Super Bowl.
Exactly. I mean, why? It's because there's only 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? People are worried about the pitch, how are you going to, what if something happens? I mean, what happens to the soccer field? But, it's sort of, and it's being produced by Coldplay. I mean, by Chris Martin of Coldplay, right? And Global Citizen. I think it is one of the most watched events, over 1 billion viewers each year, right? So, of course, they want to capitalize on something. They're trying to, and so it makes
Why
sense.
Why not take advantage of this? You can do a lot in 15 minutes. I mean,
exactly,
we saw
and they're
Bad
all coming
Bunny
on
do
together,
it.
right?
I love that, and I love the lineup.
It is, and it's an international lineup, which makes sense for an international tournament.
Perfect. I mean, did you see the actual announcement that Chris Martin did along with Elmo?
I think we have an image of that we can put up on our live stream if you're watching on YouTube. But
adorable.
It was adorable. And this apparently, according to the organizers, was Chris Martin's idea. He thought of this during the last World Cup.
Right.
And he picked them out personally.
And Shakira's already been part of the World Cup for so many times. I mean, Madonna is this global pop icon, and why not BTS? And they're really trying to reach out to this global audience. And so this makes so much sense.
And Elmo had BTS on speed dial, so I love that. That was so great.
They're trying to cater, I think, also to a U.S. audience specifically. We're used to this with the Super Bowl. It's a hugely lucrative market for soccer, which historically hasn't really existed. But now soccer is experiencing a huge boom in the U.S. It recently overtook baseball as the third most popular sport in the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I know nothing about soccer and most sports, but I am looking forward to that halftime show.
I think a lot of people might be learning about it during this World Cup. And I think that's the brilliance of having a halftime show, is that I'm not a big sports person either. My favorite part of the Super Bowl is watching the halftime show.
I mean,
Yeah.
the interesting thing too is that we know that there's only that 15-minute of halftime, but they're now thinking that they might extend it a little bit longer too. So they are making room for the possibility of it actually being a longer show, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 23 minutes. But I think it's really interesting how they understand coming to the U.S. and doing.
I'm very curious about Madonna in this show. Shakira, I instantly got.
Yes.
I mean, global
And
star.
BTS.
BTS instantly got. They just apparently reunited after mandatory military service.
Yes, yeah, they did.
Right.
So massive.
So,
But
Joyce,
Madonna,
what's your beef with Madonna then?
Well, I don't have a beef with her, except that she hasn't done much lately. Although I understand
But
she
she's
was
recognized all
well,
over the
true,
world, so that's
true.
I think what they're thinking
Coachella
of.
in April,
and she's been at that. She lives in that huge space,
and she's
right?
like the grandmother. I don't know. She's
Well,
like.
it is sort of representing different generations in a way
Absolutely.
too. You get down to
Yes.
the very bottom with BTS and their huge Gen Z fandom. A reminder that so many people are going to see this. As you mentioned, the audience for the World Cup is huge. If you compare it to the Super Bowl, 5 times bigger, basically. Last Super Bowl got some 120 million viewers, and the previous World Cup final. So, I mean, that's not. This isn't including all of the games that are played throughout. The World Cup final drew more than 500 million live viewers. So, a lot of folks are going to be watching this.
Yeah, we're psyched.
All right, now from the soccer green to the red carpet. Cannes is underway. Some people like to say Cannes. It's underway with less Hollywood wattage this year, but plenty of awards season intrigue. The 79th festival is lighter on blockbusters and big English language titles, putting the focus back on directors from Pedro Almodovar to Ryosuke Hamaguchi, and on a new Oscar rule that could give Cannes winners a bigger path into the Academy Awards race. We're going to get into all of that. Joyce, what are you looking forward to at this event?
I'm looking forward to some of the movies that are going to come out of this. And even though there aren't a lot of big Hollywood movies, I mean, I was wondering, why is The Odyssey not in there? Chris Nolan.
Yeah.
Well, it's not finished. And I was wondering about the Spielberg movie. Disclosure, I think it's called.
Yeah. Alien Invasion.
Apparently he doesn't often go to Cannes. So, and a lot of movies don't need to be at Cannes. Like Sinners wasn't at Cannes, and One Battle After Another wasn't at Cannes. But I am curious to see what Neon does this year.
Yeah, Neon has taken home the Palme d'Or, which is the biggest trophy of the Cannes Film Festival. They've taken it taken it home, I think, for the sixth
times.
Years.
And they may take it home again.
I mean, they have 9 films here. I mean, Tom Quinn is amazing. He just talks about how audiences are desperate for creativity, and I think that's right. And I couldn't help but think about Hollywood's not in this space. Is it not in this space because what's the point? Neon's going to walk away, or this is what people are looking for at Cannes. This is what they're saying. They're saying that that's a good thing that Hollywood's out. That Cannes is going back to being what it always was. And this sort of auteur festival with these incredible, it's director focused. So I think it's great. I love. I'm an independent film person. I run an independent film festival. I think that is really where you see so much of creativity in this medium. And if Cannes is going back to that space, I think it's all good for everybody.
One of the things that I love about the festival, too, is that it's not like the Oscars where you have this huge body of people voting on things that are pretty consistent with the way they choose, but they have a selected jury every year. And the last few winners, you have Parasite, Titan, Triangle of Sadness, Anatomy of a Fall, Anora, and last year's winner was Just an Accident, an Iranian movie. This year, the president of the jury is Park Chan-wook, who's one of my favorite contemporary filmmakers. His last movie, which I don't know if either of you saw, No Other Choice, might have been my favorite movie of last year. So I'm really excited to see what he's choosing. One of the controversies, or sort of lack of controversies, that we've seen around Cannes in comparison to previous big film festivals is that they're kind of putting politics front and center. So Park Chan-wook recently spoke alongside Demi Moore, who's also judging on the panel, and they said essentially that they're embracing politics, which stands in stark contrast to the Berlin International Film Festival, which happened earlier this year and generated some controversy with Wim Wenders talking about how politics shouldn't be in movies. So here we're going to play a clip of him. This is Wim Wenders opening the press conference earlier this year, discussing the role of cinema in politics.
If we made movies that are dedicatedly political, we enter the field of politics, but we are the counterweight to politics. We are the opposite of politics. We have to do the work of people, and not the work of politicians.
So art as the opposite of politics. Joyce, you seem to disagree.
Well, it isn't that I disagree. I think Wim Wenders has been misunderstood, and I think that this quote really means he says he doesn't think movies should be dedicatedly political. I think clearly it's essential that movies and politics intersect. Movies reflect our world back to us. Politics, are huge parts of our lives. But I think he means movies that are propaganda with a political agenda and that somehow ignore all of the complexity when you dig underneath what a political agenda might be or what politicians do. And so I don't think he meant you can't use politics as a subject. And I think people in some very superficial sort of boneheaded way went off on Wim, and that's not what he's about.
No, I think that's sort of the social media getting one clip and everybody gets
all
up in tizzy over it. Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned social media because I really want to sound off on that.
Yeah, well, let's
I
talk.
just want to say one other thing about the whole politics. And I think it's like not a large P in politics, but a small P in politics. You can't take it out of films, right? I mean, one battle after another. Everyone has some sort of little piece of that. So I think you're absolutely right. It's like we don't, there's no room for propaganda films. There's no really room for that cinema should be cinema. But you need every single piece of cinema is going to be reflective of what is going on in society today, and that's just how it is. And so exactly, I think you're right. It's the social media. It's throwing something up there and not fully explaining what that is or giving a full quote and taking things out of context, which is really problematic.
That would be a stupid movie. Yeah. That would be, and this is why. I mean, there will be movies like that. This is why we need critics and not influencers.
I wanted to talk about that because one trend that we've seen increasing over the past several years at Cannes and other festivals around the world is that influencers are taking over, not just with, being quote unquote critics talking about the movies at it, but also on the red carpet. Joyce, as a critic, how are you thinking about this?
I'm thinking it's ridiculous that you bring these people in who know nothing, most of them. There are the occasional critics sprinkled in there, but you can buy them for a bucket of popcorn. They have no grounding in film anything, no knowledge, no experience, and they may give an opinion because they have opinions, which influence tons of people. Who goes to a movie, how a movie is perceived, and I don't know that they'd be able to tell the difference between propaganda and a film that is art, which is entirely different. So I hate that it's become this transactional. Of course, movie distribution companies love them and bring them in early and let them meet the stars, and because it helps sell tickets.
Right.
This is part of the dumbing down of America.
I think what's confusing about it, too, for a social media audience is that oftentimes you see feeds flooded with these videos that are almost just across the board, either positive or negative about something that hasn't even been released yet. And that's the beauty of criticism. You get an informed opinion from somebody that you might end up agreeing with or disagreeing with, but it gives you perspective to go into the movie with. And when you have people kind of spewing out talking points or like, look how great this movie is because it's about this, and they're not really getting into the criticism.
The timing of these influencers, too, is interesting because they often come in before critics have seen anything, and critics are going, what? We haven't seen this yet.
Right, exactly.
When in fact, a piece of criticism can be read at any time during the run of the movie because the point of a critic is not to sell a ticket. It's to help you think about what's in front of you.
Right. And oftentimes the critic, you have you can't release your review until after a certain day and stuff like that. But I think but one of the things about Cannes, I think, is that, I think everybody's battling with this, right? We need social media. You cannot be in the social media space with a film. It's where, it's where all your hits are going to come from. So I do think that, hopefully, the reality is when you're going to these film festivals and things like that, you have sponsors, you have adjacent events, you have parties, you have red carpet, and that's what they use the influencers for. Unfortunately, they also use them, to when they're watching a movie, and all they need to say is, "Oh, all these people walked out," and not put it within context. It could mean there could have been all sorts of other things going on. But I still think that Cannes and a lot of the other big festivals still believe that critics matter. They know that the influencers usually can't replicate that. They really depend on Variety, and they depend on Hollywood Reporter and critics in order to say, should we distribute this? What's your campaign strategy and all that influencers can't do. But the problem is that they're given this voice to actually shut down a movie before anyone can actually really read about
I think
what's
it's
going on.
particularly dangerous right now to
Yes.
have these people in an era when we have to really take a very good look at what's true, what is of quality, what is real, not what is propaganda, not what's going to sell a ticket. Everything is it's so important that we have people who can really see out there.
And I think it's problematic because they talk about it's important to bring the younger audience in with social media, but why not bring them in and teach them to be critics? Why not teach them to understand and develop skills so that they can be critics?
Do you know they
more?
have a name now? Filmfluencers.
Filmfluencers taking over the world. Briefly,
they are dangerous.
Before we move on to our next topic, I do want to mention the new Oscars rule. It could have Oscars implications. Usually one country can submit a movie for the international category. But this year, if a film wins a top prize at a festival like Cannes, it can be nominated on its own. It can be entered into the Academy Awards, which could be big for some countries getting more films, or if you have dissident filmmakers like Jafar Panahi of Iran, Iran's not going to submit his films. If it wins a Palm, then it can be in the Oscars.
I think that is a big game changer.
All right.
It's very exciting to see.
Let's move from Cannes to Eurovision, another global stage where culture, politics, and spectacle converge.
מישל זו עברילה, אני באפלה, איך השארת אותי
That is Noam Betan representing Israel with the song Michelle. The song has advanced to the Eurovision final in Vienna, but Israel's participation in the event has become one of this year's biggest flashpoints because of the war in Gaza and the civilian death toll. The contest slogan is, quote, united by music, but 5 countries in Europe, Spain, Ireland, the Netherlands, Iceland, and Slovenia, are sitting out over Israel's participation. Joyce, I think this is a prime example of art and politics are always together.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think this is such a shame that these people have pulled out. And we're talking about big players. I mean, Spain, Slovenia, as you said, Iceland, Ireland, they all have huge huge connections to this event over time. Either they've been there from the beginning or for many, many years, or they're obsessed with Eurovision. I'm a little bit new to Eurovision, but I love what it means to do. And the whole point of art, and particularly music, because it transcends boundaries because it doesn't involve language, is freedom, expression, joy, and connection. So I am wondering just how anti-Semitic this actually is, because they haven't always walked away when people from authoritarian governments performed.
That is an interesting piece of the history of this, is that it has generally sort of gone above
except
politics.
for Russia, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Russia is not going to be in it anymore, or it has not been in it for several years now. So this is unprecedented, and it's being called the biggest politically motivated boycott in Eurovision history. One of the things that I love about this contest, though, is just how it's like so kitschy, it's so campy,
silly, yes.
It's hilariously genuine. I don't know if either of you have seen the Will Ferrell movie about Eurovision, which I was not familiar with Eurovision in advance. We have an image of Will Ferrell performing in it here. And so when you watch this movie, it reads like satire, and then you actually watch Eurovision and you realize actually Will Ferrell performing in Eurovision is very similar to what you see on the real Eurovision
which I think
stage.
it's crazy. But one of the things too, I think it's funny to say that it's apolitical. It is it's maintained by countries. So how could it be? How could it not be political? But it's exactly right. I think it is sort of like they call it silly, but it's not really silly. It is a professionally produced international songwriting and performance competition. But I mean, I think that when you look at, you're right, when you look at like how these countries, it's how important it is for them to do this, how important it is for them to host it. There are millions of people that come to this in person, right? It actually adds to tourism.
I'd like to watch this.
Well,
right,
there are
exactly. And you
millions.
can watch this year because you can watch on Peacock. I love the fact that ABBA won in 1974 with that film Water, with the song Waterloo.
Let's hear a little bit of it.
it.
Here's ABBA with their grand finals
This
winners
is interesting,
performance of
too.
the song Waterloo at the end of the 74 Eurovision
Yes.
Song Contest.
completely launched their career, just
yeah.
like Celine Dion. It launched Celine Dion's career too when she sang for, who did she sing for? She was like one of the biggest, she became one of the biggest global pop stars ever. It was really interesting because people were like, well, why is she singing for, I think it was Sweden or
Switzerland.
It was
Yeah,
Switzerland.
we just heard from
and
our
she was
producers.
Canadian and she went and sang for them. And I'm like, how can you do that? It's like, well, the performer doesn't have to be from here. It's just the country and they can choose whoever they want. So this is really competitive.
Yeah,
That's what I love about it. It's like, bring her in, like bring her on.
It has an incredibly large audience. I mentioned
Yes.
the World Cup being so much larger than the Super Bowl. This is also more watched than the Super Bowl overall. It's watched by 166 million people on TV. It's also a cultural touchstone for the LGBTQ plus community. And this year there's some amazing performers in it. I've watched videos of them, like Lithuania's performance was just like super stark with these beautiful visuals. We have it up on our live stream right now. This man wearing a total paint of silver in this black gown. Here's a song from this year. It's Pete Parkkinen performing on behalf of Finland at the first Eurovision 2026 semifinal.
Ois viisaampi häipyttää, mut tulen vieläkin leikin. Miten tunteet vois jäädyttää, kun sä oot liekin heitin. Oh, saat mun palamaan.
So that's one of the songs this year.
I mean, they're great. I
Yeah.
mean, they're beautifully produced. They're beautifully. I mean, I think it'll be fun. I do think people should watch it, and it actually has become, like you said, sort of like much more of an American audience is now watching it. People who love pop, the LGBTQ community, people who are into media. I think it's funny that, because I was thinking, how come we don't do this here in the U.S.? They did do it. In 2022, they came up with something called the American Song Contest.
How did it turn out?
Terribly. Terribly, because they were like, this is great. We can have the states come in and we can have them sing about Texas and sing them about Massachusetts. But apparently it was a huge flop because they couldn't translate
What
that
they
feeling
sing
and that
about
cultural
here
feeling.
are-
Right, exactly.
This is all original songs, too. I mean,
and it's
this
a
is-
country
so
and a
it's-
culture, and you just don't have that here.
It focuses on an individual voice.
Yes.
Artists who may not be able to get this anywhere else and wouldn't have this kind of an audience. It's just, to me, it cuts to the heart of what art is, the cultivation of the individual voice. I took a look at the winner from last year,
Yes.
and who sang a song called Wasted Love. And this person had a vocal range that was astounding, like a coloratura soprano, and then all the way down in this sort of basso profundo range, and a beautiful video. I mean, I was astounded.
I'm glad you mentioned the video,
Yeah.
and Lisa, how you mentioned the production of the live
Yes.
performances, because the way they do this is incredible to watch. And I was reading up on the history of it, and it was actually founded back in 1956. It was originally a technical experiment just intended to test if there could be one event broadcast live to millions of people across the continent. Now, more than 50 years later, it's...
And no lip syncing, people.
Yeah. All right, coming up on the Culture Show, All That Glitters is Trump. We look at the 22-foot gold statue of the president and what happens when politics, spectacle, and idolatry share a pedestal. That's next on the Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the TEATEA Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Soraya Wintersmith in for Arun Rath. Today on GBH is All Things Considered, local reaction to the Supreme Court's ruling preserving access to the abortion pill by telehealth, takeaways from the high-stakes China summit, and inside a new initiative to teach Boston's kindergartners how to ride a bike. This week's Joy Beat and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Boston Symphony Orchestra, presenting classical soloists, popular artists, and a week of programs curated by Yo-Yo Ma amid the Berkshire Hills at Tanglewood. More at tanglewood.org. And Newport Mansions, presenting the 30th Annual Newport Flower Show June 19th through the 21st at Rosecliff Mansion in Newport, Rhode Island. A celebration of seaside floral elegance. Tickets and info at newportmansions.org. And Porter Square Books, presenting Matt Haig, author of The Midnight Library, discussing his new book, The Midnight Train, with novelist Alice Hoffman, Sunday, May 31st. Info at portersquarebooks.com.
Your trusted local news, covering the stories that matter to you. Stay informed and stay connected on the GBH News YouTube channel. Subscribe and watch on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. GBH News, what matters to you.
Welcome back to The Culture Show. I'm Jeremy Siegel, global correspondent and news host for GBH, in today for Jared Bowen. We are live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm joined by Culture Show contributors Lisa Simmons and Joyce Kulhaywick. Lisa Simmons is the artistic and executive director of the Roxbury International Film Festival and program manager at Mass Cultural Council. Joyce Kulhaywick is an Emmy Award-winning arts and entertainment reporter, president of the Boston Theater Critics Association, and you can find her reviews at joyceschoices.com. If you are just tuning in, we are going over the latest arts and culture headlines, which includes commencement season. All of that pomp and circumstance in Boston when caps fly, traffic crawls, and universities compete for the biggest name at the podium. This year's lineup has been stacked, including Conan O'Brien at Harvard, Hilary Duff at Northeastern, and Henry Winkler at Emerson.
You are powerful, and in you is a great gift. And your job is to figure out what your gift is, because this world needs every single one of you. And your job is to find that gift and give it to the world. It doesn't matter what it is. We need it. Go!
I'm inspired after hearing everything. You got the Fonz up stage.
I'm like, right. I'm doing it.
I love that guy. Anyway,
oh,
he's
I know.
great.
He is amazing. Yeah.
There are lots of big names coming through Massachusetts, including a familiar one. Bridgewater State University has Governor Charlie Baker and Attorney General Andrea Campbell speaking at their undergraduate and graduate ceremonies. One of those was yesterday, another is tonight. College of the Holy Cross will also hear from Charlie Baker. He's really making his rounds at these commencements. We mentioned Henry Winkler and Conan O'Brien and Hilary Duff. Hilary Duff's message, she spoke about the pressure of growing up in the public eye because, you know, she was a child actor on Disney, shared the importance of setting boundaries, reclaiming your narrative, staying authentic. She reminded graduates, quote, "You are the architect of your own happiness. You get to decide what belongs in your life because we only get one."
It's a great message, particularly for now. And when I first heard Hilary Duff, I thought, what can she tell us? Which, of course, was a silly reaction on my part. Because
that's one of the
everybody's
things
story.
I love about commencement addresses is that sometimes it's those names where you think, or why are they getting up on the podium, end up being the best.
She, growing up in the public eye, I mean, all of us are growing up in the public eye now because we all have these, you know, social media presences, et cetera. But I think that's a beautiful message for now. I just recently heard that Harrison Ford, in fact, perhaps yesterday, Arizona State gave a killer commencement speech. The heart of his message: passion brings you joy, purpose brings you meaning. Passion gets you out of bed in the morning. Purpose lets you sleep at night. And I thought that was a really neat way to combine following your heart with doing something meaningful in the world. And his meaning in the world, beyond being an incredible actor, is conservation, the environment, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's very interesting about how colleges pick their commencement speakers, right? Oftentimes, sometimes they ask their students. Oftentimes it's, you know, the heads of, like Ivies always tend to pick like heads of states and CEOs. It's sort of like a status sort of thing. So I do think it's interesting that Harrison Ford goes to Arizona State. So it's also not what the college is looking out to bring somebody in, but that the person who's doing the speech is saying, yes, I'm sure he's been asked, you know, to be tons of other different colleges, and he chooses Arizona State.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful too, because he feels that that's where his message or whatever might be landing. But I think that that's a really important part of it too. I know at the Hillary Duff, someone I know who went to that said then it broke out to this huge dance party.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
and
that's
it was like
amazing.
amazing, you know. So I mean, it's all these sort of things that make it memorable. Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to make that graduation commencement memorable for that particular class?
Many colleges also choose alumni, and I actually spoke to an alumnus of a local college, Merrimack College. I spoke with Charlie Day, who folks might know from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And tons of comedy movies. And he was one of those where it's like, well, I know who Charlie Day is. He's hilarious. We have an image of him up there giving on our YouTube channel, giving the commencement address. But he was extremely, I mean, he just gave such a great message to the audience. And I was really curious about how he put that together, how he approached giving a commencement address. Because, you know, even though lots of these people are heads of state, they're famous, they're actors, it must be daunting to get up there and tell a group of thousands of college students. Yeah, you've done it, right, Joyce?
Yeah. I have done it. My own college, now a university, Simmons University, asked me to be their commencement speaker and gave me an honorary doctorate. You may be calling me Dr. Kulhawick.
Okay,
we'll do
Dr.
Kulhawick. We'll do that.
But I've never been more terrified. But in fact, what I realize, and it's something I realize every single time I go out to speak in public, which is all any of us can share is exactly our journey, what we know, what we've learned to be true. And the heart of my message ultimately was you have to have the confidence to follow who you are, because who you are will out eventually. So tuning in as soon as possible is extremely important. It helped me find my career path, staying close to myself, my health journey. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor, misdiagnosed every single time, but I challenged my doctors and they then saved my life. But you have to be confident about who you are. You know yourself better than anyone else, and that's a message I love to impart.
That's a great message. When I spoke with Charlie Day, he was not really confident about doing the commencement address.
It's terrifying.
Here's a little bit of him telling me about how he prepared for it.
I had a breakfast out here in Los Angeles with some people from Merrimack College, and they asked me if I would give a commencement address, and I sort of quickly just said, yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. And then the reality of it started to set in on me, where I thought, oh my gosh, wait a second, there's going to be people with their families, and I have to think of something to say. And I really didn't know how to approach it, so I opened up one of my screenwriting applications. Basically, it's called Final Draft, and something I would write an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with. And I wrote the character Charlie, and I wrote like Charlie is at the podium, and then I just started writing speech bit by bit.
Wait, so you were doing it in character as Charlie? That's
more
how
or
you wrote
less
it?
in character, yeah.
So that's how he got over
do
the
that.
fear. So I'm really curious, each of you, we hear about these huge names that come through and small names. Do you have an ideal commencement speaker that you would like to hear, Lisa?
I think my ideal commencement speaker would be Isabel Wilkerson, who wrote Cast. I had the opportunity to interview her last year, and read her book and read The Warmth of Other Suns, and it's sort of this storytelling and cultural equity and independent voice, which I would be really interested in. And she is just an amazing journalist and an amazing writer. And I think she brings so much information and history to her books and her speaking. And I've heard her speak as well, dynamic, uplifting, but real, and sort of like in this current world that we're living in, to give some really great tips, a way to navigate that, right? Based on history also, and how to navigate. We've been here before. This is how we got through it, sort of thing. Like that, I think, is a really important message right now today.
She'll actually be at Brandeis this weekend doing a speech. I just heard from our producers, so there's something to look forward to. I hope there's a YouTube video of it afterwards.
That's a stunning, stunning book, and a very warm person. My choice, Heather Cox Richardson.
Yes.
Heather, who I believe has been a guest on this show.
The historian who you often hear. You'll hear on this show and often on Boston Public Radio.
Brilliant
on GBH
historian, professor at Boston College, who posts letters from an American every single night on Substack. In the clearest, most definitive prose, she puts political events in the context of history so that we understand literally what is happening, where it came from, and then understand what the ramifications are in our lives. She is, to me, just so discerning and so clear. I'd follow her anywhere.
Can you imagine them together?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, sort of head and
Isabel,
heart.
yes.
She wrote something today about the staggering corruption of the Trump regime, we'll call it. My head nearly exploded. I love the deep context she gives to everything that's happening now.
Let's talk about something happening right now that involves the Trump White House. We'll move from the commencement podium to a very different kind of pedestal. A 22-foot gold statue of President Trump now stands at Trump National Doral in Florida. It is called Don Colossus, which I had to do a double take when I saw that it's the actual name. Don Colossus. It shows him with his fist raised, echoing the image from the Butler assassination attempt. It was unveiled with an evangelical blessing, crypto promotion, and plenty of backlash. For folks tuning in on our YouTube stream, you can see an image of this glaring the sun gold statue. Joyce, Lisa, your thoughts on this new Trump statue?
It's just part of the myth-making that's involved in politics right now. I mean, I actually went back to the story of the golden calf, in the Bible, and actually the Israelites constructed this golden calf when Moses was, up on the Mount
Sinai,
right?
yeah.
And in this vacuum of leadership, they wanted something to worship, and they came up with something very superficial and, transactional.
And then Moses came down, and he was mad.
He was very, very mad. Trump has somehow stepped into a vacuum that's been created now in a world that's volatile and complicated, where people are looking, and scary, and where people are looking for something very easy to believe in. And he's constructed a myth of the hero, the God. I will solve all your problems. I will take care of you. And he's created a cult following. And this golden statue is just part of that. I can't look at it without sort of laughing and crying.
Well,
he doesn't see how incredibly venal I don't know if he sees it, how stupid it looks.
Well, you mentioned some of the backlash that we've seen of this. You voiced some of the backlash. And I mean, going back to, how Moses was upset back in the day, there is an inner conflict that's happening, I think, in American Christianity during the Trump era. Lots of evangelical leaders remaining among Trump's strongest political allies. But then on the other end, you have people saying that this isn't right to do.
This isn't right.
We do have sound of Trump's spiritual advisor discussing this and defending the putting up of this 22-foot statue. Here that is.
Yeah, well, of course, it's preposterous. It's blasphemy to even think that. I mean, if you knew me, and of course, I don't know anybody who worships Donald Trump as a god, but I do know you could worship anything as a god, whether it be your job, whether it be your money, whether it be your relationships, whether it be your career, whatever it is, you can put it before the living God, and God is a jealous God. So nothing should ever be put before the living God. This statue symbolized patriotism of Americans. It represents the will to fight, even in the face of opposition, to will to get back up with the blood coming down the president's face.
So there's one point of view. I should mention that's Pastor Mark Burns on LBC News defending the statue. This also comes as Trump has been promoting a God Bless the USA Bible. It's priced at $59.99 to $99.99. It's the King James Version alongside some historical U.S. documents. It's endorsed by Trump in partnership with country singer Lee Greenwood, and it's marketed as a, quote, presidential edition or, in line with the statue, a gold edition.
You can get that with the sneakers. There's a whole package now. You can get the Bible and the
Well,
sneakers.
so you see
the statue,
what we're...
and I think I'm waiting for, the evangelical Christians and others to actually, when is it going to break? Because they've already been angered by some of what he's done.
Well,
and
I
this
think
is actually an abomination in a sense, to actually have this kind of idolization and using this like golden calf or whatever as and it's clear as what it is. So there's people who say absolutely not, it's not idolatry. Other people, and a lot more other people, are saying this is not right. This needs to stop.
And it not even on religious grounds, although I do not understand the evangelical support for this president. But I do think more and more people are seeing through how he uses these myths to not help people, but to line his own pockets. It's for his own particular goals. And it's shameless. And I think that it's starting to see the cracks in what he's doing. We're starting to see extraordinary
but
corruption.
No one's stopping it. That's the thing. Every day it's something new.
Yeah,
so you're right.
Because
when do
they
we get
have
to that
all
point?
of their own
Exactly.
particular interests.
But it's the same
in
thing
mind.
about like image and attention and increasing, and it's all part of that. Like it's just like, doing the halftime show. It's all about visual and imagery and trying to put it out right.
People on the ground are seeing it and feeling it and reacting. So I think that's got to rattle the cages of the people in Congress.
Two things I should mention before we move on is that there has been backlash in the religious community, including Reverend Benjamin Kramer, a commenter known for having progressive Christian perspectives. He labeled it as a breach of the Bible's prohibition against idolatry. Also, this weekend, the Trump White House is holding a big prayer event on the National Mall, which it's not unusual for presidential administrations to embrace religion in some way or another, although this is quite front and center on a nationalist stage.
Is that after the reflecting pool finishes being painted blue?
We'll see. Coming up, your next pizza order may be up in the air. Literally, Little Caesars is now testing drone delivery. We will look at what that says about speed, convenience, and the future of takeout. That is next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Trade. Huge responses from across Europe, from the Danish Prime Minister.
Climate. Picture this all filled with ice.
Security.
Not only do we need to end the war, we also need to prevent the next war.
These are global issues, and to understand them, you need a global perspective. I'm Carolyn Beeler.
And I'm Marco Werman. Join us for The World each and every weekday.
This afternoon at 3 on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Native Plant Trust, a source for pollinator-friendly plants. Available at Garden in the Woods in Framingham. More at nativeplanttrust.org.
And the Boston Speaker Series, announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings, featuring Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, historian Doris Kearns-Goodwin, and financial journalist Andrew Ross Sorkin. BostonSpeakers.org. And Coco Badakian & Sons, offering antique rugs since 1938. A range of hand-knotted, modern, and antique Oriental rugs are available to view in their showroom at 808 Main Street, Winchester, or online at cocorug.com.
From your neighborhood to your newsfeed, GBH News is your trusted source for the news that matters to you. Find us wherever you are at GBH News and always at GBH 89.7. GBH News, what matters to you.
I'm Jeremy Siegel, global correspondent and news host at GBH, in for Jared Bowen today. If you're just tuning in, this is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm joined by Culture Show contributors Lisa Simmons and Joyce Kohewick. We are going over the latest headlines in our Arts and Culture Week in Review. And as we begin to enter the last little round of our show, we're going to have a kind of lightning round of some newsy pieces of culture this week, including this: 0 by land, 2 if by air. Little Caesars is using drones to deliver pizza in Wiley, Texas, with aircraft that can carry 2 large pies at once. The rollout points to a new phase of convenience culture, faster, more automated, and increasingly overhead. I got to ask both of you, are you food delivery people? Are you Uber Eats in all the time?
No.
Not
not
all
Joyce?
the time, but certainly, yeah.
No,
every once in a while.
Yeah.
We do takeout Thai. That's that's a bit.
That's as far as you'll go.
That, yeah, but
so I imagine you're not going to be having your Thai delivered by drone.
I
if this
cannot
comes to
wait
Boston.
to have my first pizza delivered by drone.
Oh, you're on board with it.
Wait,
Okay.
you actually pick up your food? You don't have it delivered? Joyce, that's great.
I know. Yeah, no, we don't run out to. We're cooking most of the time, and then there's lots of leftovers, or we go out to eat. But no, we don't do it. But my daughter does a lot of DoorDash, et cetera, et cetera.
So this is a new program. It's kind of a pilot. We've seen some companies launch drone deliveries, including actually in New York City. They launched a new drone delivery of medical supplies. But this is pretty new for food deliveries. Yeah. I was actually on a reporting trip in China, in the city of Shenzhen, which is outside of Hong Kong, late last year. And there I saw that this is everyday life. So what's new and funny sounding, pizzas being delivered by drone in a random town in Texas, this is everywhere in big cities in China. This is what it sounds like when you're on the ground and hear these deliveries happening. So you have these little yellow drones carrying around people's fast food. I saw actually one of the fields where workers put this together, and it's like they're ordering food, having it delivered to them, and then they're putting it onto these drones.
How is it actually not melting or not? Or it's still warm by the time you get it. So, I mean, they still have to have someone bring it to that field in order for that to happen.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions about this. Is it really more convenient, and what will it mean for the gig economy?
Apparently it is, as long as seagulls don't figure out how to open up the packaging.
That's true.
I'm thinking about that. But I'm also thinking about how powerful drones are, both, in the world of like retail and takeout and on the battlefield. I mean, drones are showing lots of might beyond their miniature.
The Ukraine-Russia war, they've been huge in that, and also
and
the
Iran.
war in Iran, yeah.
I mean, the thing is that, yes, I think this is experimental. I think it's really fun for people. They can't carry a thing of water, a big case of water, which is what apparently Walmart says they deliver most of. But they can, deliver ice cream, eggs, and Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, and they'll take those delivery drivers off the streets where they're double parking and gumming up the works everywhere.
I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, and emissions. And no, I think it's great to reduce traffic.
It'll likely be a long time, if ever, before we see something like this.
The FAA is not going to let that happen overnight.
That's a good idea.
They can't do it in Massachusetts anyway. The weather's horrible.
We're going to move on to something earlier in the show. We were talking about international competitions, the World Cup, Eurovision. Now let's go to another matchup with national pride baked in. Dunkin' versus Tim Hortons. Dunkin' is returning to Canada. This is after not being in Canada for almost a decade. They're taking on the country's homegrown coffee and donut giant.
Yeah.
You think it's going to work?
I don't know. I have no idea, but they're still calling it Dunkin' Donuts in Canada, apparently.
Which is interesting. I'm surprised they're allowed to do that.
Yeah, but I think it's great. I'm just wondering if Ben Affleck is going to advertise, and will that help or hurt?
I think it's really interesting that this idea came about because the CEO of this company's daughter goes to school here apparently and was like, we should have Dunkin'.
I'm running on Dunks.
I'm running on Dunkin', Dad. Like,
the
and he's
CEO.
like, all right, cool. Like, let's try it, honey.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty funny.
They don't really like us much now because of the Trump
that's
tariffs.
what I was
That
gonna
is
say.
one of the major concerns that economic experts have been speaking about, is that there are a number of people who've been avoiding U.S. brands. The CBC actually interviewed some diehard coffee and donut people in Canada, and it made the possibility of Dunkin's success seem bleak. Here's a quote from someone named Jeff Small. He said, I think people are loyal to Tim Hortons and the Canadian brand. Another customer, Jason Goring, put a little bit of a finer point on the national identity issue with Tim Hortons, saying, I don't like America at all. Trump is the biggest evil in the world. So it is difficult when you're associated with President Trump.
I think that, so I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I'm concerned, though. He said, the CEO of this major food company said, I tried their breakfast sandwiches, and I kind of find that they're a step above what's being offered here in the category of Canada. What?
So
what is being offered? What is being offered in Canada that the Dunkin' Donuts
we may
breakfast
win out
better.
on quality. We may win out on quality alone. Dunkin' has a nice product, but I'm trying to imagine if it were flipped. If Tim Horton came here,
nobody would
buy
care.
Tim Horton.
That's an interesting corollary
to think
about.
Plus, there's many, many, many more Tim Hortons than there are than they're bringing in.
That's right.
Donuts.
There are thousands and
apparently,
thousands of them.
like
Just
Canada is like the
so.
capital of coffee.
Yeah.
There are coffee shops everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think it's the mom and pop coffee shops that are actually going to unfortunately be hurt.
When you mentioned the Ben Affleck effect. I actually think that could have something to do with it. The marketing behind Dunkin', the CEO of Foodtastic, their parent company, said, quote, "It's a younger, cooler brand, and I think it's something that's missing in the landscape." And one thing that might inspire some new customers is that Dunkin' is now nationally launching a viral 48-ounce beverage bucket nationwide on May 22nd.
Is that
we
like
have
a
an
bucket?
image. We have an image of this on our YouTube stream if you're watching. It's a literal bucket of Dunkin' iced coffee, which I don't know who's
By the time you get to the bottom
much.
of that, it's going to be all water. I thought it was going to be like a bucket of beers or something.
I don't know.
Like that.
And
buckets like.
Does Ben Affleck indicate younger, cooler? I don't know.
I think there's at least meme-ified interest of Ben
It's
Affleck
celebrityism
among Gen Z
and
online.
imagery and
I guess.
all of that.
Now, if BTS were hawking that,
Now we're going to move on to watches. Very expensive watches that are getting a little bit less expensive this week. Swatch and Audemars Piguet, the luxury watchmaker, they got the watch world wound up with their new Royal Pop collaboration. After days of online speculation, where people were talking about what are these people going to be collaborating on, how much is it going to cost, the reveal turned out to be a colorful $400 pocket watch, so something miniature. We have an image up on our YouTube stream. It's the latest luxury meets mainstream brand collaboration, something that we've been seeing a lot of over the past few years. I'm thinking of companies like Zara, Uniqlo, bringing in big name designers. Lisa, you going to be getting one of these watches? You're going to wait in line?
I think they're actually really cool. I'm not sure I'll wait in line, which means I'll probably miss it. But I mean, I think it's interesting that a company like AP is who is so holds so much close to its chest about their luxury brand, wanted to do this connection with Swatch, and Swatch did this with Omega, as you know, but they're the same company. So here's Swatch going outside of its own family to do this partnership with AP, and I think that. They were like open for it because, again, it's the same thing as influencers. It's the same thing as everyone else. They're trying to get to that younger market because their older market is fine buying their watches, can't afford. They're like $50,000 or something.
Yeah, well,
like
I have
that.
the prices up here.
Yes.
So their lowest entry level one is $20K.
Yes, it's
so,
$20K, right.
If
So
you're willing
here
to take
you
out a loan,
can
but
say,
then up to $350K for their complex
Right.
diamond set ones.
So who can do that? But what you do is you introduce something like this into the market. Young kids are going to wait in line. It becomes this big thing. I think the people waiting in line are actually going to resell them. But I mean, I think it's interesting. I think it's great. I think you open it up to a younger market. Maybe you hope by the time they get to like 60 that they can buy the $350,000 watch.
There are already lines that are forming around the world. I think we have some images of in New York and Hong Kong. This hasn't been, it's coming out this weekend, and there are already lines around the corner. So it's clearly having some effect.
I am
Absolutely.
so out of this, I can't even begin to tell you.
But I'm wondering if
this
they're lining up.
particular product holds no allure.
Oh,
for
come
me.
on, Joyce.
You're not
That
wound
watch.
up?
Oh, no.
Are you serious?
First of all, I don't wear a watch, okay? But if I were, it would not be this plastic.
Well, you wouldn't because it's a pocket
thing.
watch. This is the
yeah,
issue.
well, no, but you can pop it out.
Yes,
because
you
I did
can.
my research. But it's got this sort of plastic thing that it hangs off of. Look, I am into the gold pocket watch. And we have a couple of them in the family. They're beautiful. I would wear them as necklaces. I mean, because this apparently is jewelry and an accessory and a timepiece.
Yes.
But I think they look sort of plastic and
They're
funny.
goofy.
Well, that's the whole point
And,
because it's taking from the Swatch watch of
again,
the 80s, which was which was
but
incredibly
it has
popular.
No,
No.
To me, it is not
Right.
beautiful.
Right.
And it is, I'm calling it plastic. It
But
is
these kids think it's fun.
It's
It's kind of-
bioceramic, apparently.
There you go. Thank you. It's
Bioceramic. But I don't think they're pretty.
All right, now we're going to move on to our week in preview with a rundown of the arts and culture events we're looking forward to. Lisa, what's on your list?
What's on my list is tonight, the Shared Stories program, which is Cinefest Latino, Roxbury International Film Festival, and Boston Asian American Film Festival come together to put on a couple of events every year. And tonight is Beam Me Up Sulu, which is a great film about George Takei helping a group of diehard Star Trek fans to make their student film in California forest. But the footage mysteriously disappeared. 36 later, Beam Me Up Sulu tells the story of Takei's extraordinary act of kindness. He went and actually did this film, and then they made a feature-length documentary about the making of it, and it is really important. You know, I mean, Star Trek is just one of those films that was movies and TV series, TV shows that was way ahead of its time, right? And
almost like was the birth of super fan culture,
right? And understanding of diversity and understanding of having other people, on those sets, and so this documentary talks about that. It talks about George, who is in ill health right now, but we're really excited to bring it to the Museum of Science. It's at 6:30 tonight.
Joyce, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, it isn't so much this weekend, but the winner of the British Book Awards is a memoir by an American, the late Virginia Giuffre, called Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. Miss Giuffre died by suicide last year at the age of 41. No doubt part of the damage she suffered at the hands of convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and British Prince Andrew, which she then details in a very powerful way in this book. She's clearly the most prominent of Epstein's accusers, and it won 2 awards. In England, the British Book Awards are clearly taking this very seriously and giving it a certain kind of a weight that we haven't given it yet here in the United States.
All right. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Culture Show. Tune in Monday for Tony Award-winning choreographer Sonia TEATEA. Lisa Simmons is artistic and executive director of the Roxbury International Film Festival and program manager at Mass Cultural Council. Joyce Kolhawick is an Emmy Award-winning arts and entertainment reporter, president of the Boston Theater Critics Association. Thank you both for co-hosting this Week in Review. And thank you to Henry Santoro for curating the Culture Cast today. Today's engineer is Bill Pacitelli. Culture Show crew, Max Chow, Gillette, Kate Dellis, and Chelsea Mers. Bill Francis produced our YouTube stream. I'm Jeremy Siegel. Hope you all have a great and arts-filled weekend.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the TEATEA Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
GBH's All Things Considered is coming up this afternoon at 4, with Marketplace at 6:30. But first, get a global view of the news with The World. Up next, here on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And H&H, the Handel and Haydn Society. The H&H Orchestra takes the spotlight with Baroque hits, May 15th